Hey guys, welcome to the Live Well, brought to you by Digital Sportsman, where we get together with our community and talk fishing. The show's fixing to start, we're getting everything ready. But in the meantime, we want to tell you about our fine partners that not only make this show possible, but are companies that we absolutely love and stand behind. Groove Fishing, changing the norm of tackle storage. Sonar Pros, specializing in high-end installations across all electronic brands. Go where the pros go. Lip Sticker Fishing, specializing in putting clients on giant Lake Lanier bass. Bill Payne's Guide Service, fish with a legend on Lake Allatoona, seasonal smallmouth trips, or even get your sonar dialed in. Brooks Anderson Fishing, guide trips and educating today's anglers on Lake Lanier. Big League Charters, fish with a pro on Tellico, Fort Loudon, Watts Bar, and Chickamauga. Money Saver Lure Retriever, designed to break your lure free from almost any snag. Fishers of Hope, benefit fishing tournaments to help people in need. Serve IT, industry-leading IT services for your business. Change the way you manage IT. Turner Tire, Jasper, Georgia's most trusted family-owned tire center. Atlanta Safe House, the trusted source for safes and gun safes in Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky, and Alabama. And of course, Digital Sportsman, a new way to discover and book unforgettable outdoor experiences with local trusted guides. Go to fngo.com to get direct links to all our fine partners. Get ready and let's talk fishing. All right, guys. Hey, welcome to the Live Well here at Fish North Georgia this Tuesday night. Hope you guys have had a great day. Glad you were joining us. Got a pretty cool episode tonight. And he says they hear just fine on TikTok. We're good. We're
cool.
That's good to know. So we had a cable issue on the TikTok camera, and it was buzzing like crazy. So we're glad they're able to hear us. But we're going to talk about something tonight that I think everybody suffers with, and that is we're good at one thing. It's like if you're a shot, what are you laughing at, Tony? Already you're laughing at me?
It just sounded like one of those. If you suffer from something, I was going to say.
If you suffer from
mesothelioma.
Mesothelioma.
Well, that's not where I was thinking, but we'll go with
of course, because you're trash, Tony. You were absolute trash back there. But anyway, guys, so listen, we'll try to get this back on track right here. But like a lot of guys are really good at a certain technique, and then when they get out of their comfort zone, it really kind of bothers them a little bit and they feel uncomfortable. And we're trying to just talk tonight about trying to become a more versatile angler. And of course, I got John Alder right here beside me to my left. And he actually spurred this conversation while we're talking about this tonight. So, thank him for that and all that. But we're going to get into it. But got Tony back yonder running the boards. And of course, I got the quad master right here, Clint, right beside me. And, but you guys in the comment section, hey, appreciate you joining us. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. That's exactly what T says. But Tony, if they made a cream for it, it ain't that bad. Oh, good Lord, already. You guys already. This might go off the rails tonight. But seriously, so Saturday, this is why we're talking about this. So Saturday, of course, they had the Sheffield Invitational. Let's call it that. They had the benefit tournament for Ryan and them. And John got to fish with Jonathan Farmer. And John is a kayak guy. He is a shallow water hammer. I'm going to let him tell the rest of the story. But after he tells you kind of what happened to him and what he saw, you're going to kind of understand. What's up, LTS Fishing? You're kind of going to understand why we're going to talk about this tonight. I think it's kind of important. So, John, go ahead and tell everybody your experience the other day.
I guess to start out, like he was saying, I'm in a kayak most of the time, fishing shallow, largemouth. And so this was the first time in over 40 years that I was on a bass boat, and first time in over 40 years since I was on Lanier. So
that's awesome.
I was overconfident in my ability to force a big bite bait in shallow water. So we started shallow. Within 30 minutes, Jonathan had landed a nice largemouth. And as soon as the sun peeked over the trees, that bite was done. And we ran to deep water. I had 3 swim bait rods with me. Mm-hmm. And luckily, Friday night, I decided to grab one spinning rod and went to the store and bought some 8-pound line. This is what I started out throwing.
Oh, Buka there.
4-ounce trick gill. And this little guy is what I ended up the day with, throwing on a spinning rod because I didn't have a caster that would throw it. Once we went deep, I had no clue what we were doing. I don't run, very seldom do I run any kind of electronics. So basically, wherever Jonathan would cast, he's a brave man because I was whipping a 3 and 4 ounce swim bait over his left shoulder all day long. And although I did get some bites on the big baits, I ended up messing up and high sticking one and losing it at the boat because I'm not used to being in a boat. I'm used to being close to the water. So it was a lot of learning experience. I definitely have to work on my deep water game.
Yeah.
As much as I don't like them, I got to work on my spotted bass game.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, it actually kind of renewed a fire in fishing because for the past year, even the tournaments I fish, they're a national tournament and you can fish where you want as long as it's public water. So I can fish the lake I want to fish and I can fish the way I want to fish it.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a different experience, which I really enjoyed. I had a lot more fun than I thought I was going to have.
Yeah, he said that. He told me that. He said, I really enjoyed it. And so, you know, John's been around here for quite a while. In fact, he's one of the original followers of Fish North Georgia from back in the day. I'm talking, when I say back in the day, back when we very first started. And he was learning his fishing techniques back then, doing a lot of work. Who is that? I can't see. I'm sorry, Aquaholic. That is John Aldred. That TikTok camera condenses it down, and I know it's hard. One of these days we're going to fix that. But he is a shallow water hammer, likes those big baits and all that. And that was one of the things he said to me was like, you know, you kind of felt out of place a little bit, not really knowing what to do and all that. And so that's kind of, I said, you know what, when he was telling me about that, I'm like, this is a good topic for the podcast Tuesday night. Cause a lot of us have our strengths. Like if we started right here, and I'll start with you, John, like what's your strength? What do you feel most comfortable fishing right now?
3 foot and less of water, 6 inches or less visibility, throwing big baits for largemouth.
All right, Tony, what's your strength right now?
I'd say about the same thing, 5 to 8 foot of water, fishing shallow, docks, stuff like that.
Okay. And what about you, Clint?
I'd say 20 to 40 foot of water, fishing in clear water,
Right.
offshore.
So a little bit of everything. I would say I'm more of a shallow water guy, but I would say I'm kind of mid between the very shallow and definitely deep. So I like the mid 10 to 25 foot range. So we all got a little bit different thoughts and strengths when we go fishing. And you guys up there as well, you can throw it out there. And you also too, for those wondering, Peg Leg did not get a bite on his toe down in Florida, which is very disappointing. You should have soaked it in like the cherry Kool-Aid or the strawberry Kool-Aid or something like that. That probably would have worked.
Yeah, I mean, this little piggy got skunked.
Oh, we grabbed
He's like that. Who are you talking about? Carson?
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, pull up Carson.
Where this one right here?
There you go.
I never thought about it till John just said it. In kayak tournaments, how do they police if it's public water or not?
Most tournaments are done through an app called Tourney X. And when you take the picture, it locks in GPS, time of day, and date. And then when you submit that picture to Tourney X, the guy who's running the tournament not only looks at your picture to make sure the mouth is closed and your fish is lined up on the board so they get an accurate length, but they've also are making sure that you are on public water during the right time of the tournament.
Okay, is that a GPS kind of thing? It can tell.
Yeah.
Yes,
And your phone automatically does it, even if you're not on Tourney X. If you swipe up on a picture, it'll tell you exactly where you were and when you you took the picture.
So there you go, Carson. That's how they do it. Peg Leg was soaking his toe in squid juice, just to let you guys know that. So, but Brian Farrell, I found you guys on TikTok, but watching it on YouTube is 100% better. Yeah, it is 100%. And there's a way we can get TikTok on the StreamYard. We just ain't figured it out yet. Hopefully one day we'll do that. So, and you guys, again, in the comment section, how do you guys like to fish? And what we want to do is kind of talk about ways like Tony and John, you both are shallow water guys.
Well, I mean, I fish with Dally, which is a deep, clear lake as well.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely better fish in shallow water. Yeah.
Right. So LTS Fishing says, I've been trying to get into the kayak tournaments, but no one ever replies to me with the info in FNG.
Oh, get on Tourney X app and you can search for tournaments in your area. Some of them are national, some of them are local. So Tourney X is where to start. There's also another one called something Chaos. I don't remember that one.
Fishing Chaos.
The ones I've done at Tourney X, and you can just search a location and it'll pop up. Or a lot of the local stuff, like I'm associated with Festive Water Paddle Sports, and they did a couple of national tournaments, but obviously it's a local shop. And if you follow them on Facebook, they will announce when they're doing a tournament.
Yeah, you can find it for sure.
And reach out to shoot us a message too. Like hit John up, Alex Purrs. He'll message you back.
Oh, yeah.
About all kinds of stuff. So don't be afraid to find us on our socials. And
And if you are
hit us
local
up.
to us, sometime in September, give me a second. September 27th, which is a Saturday, we're doing a kayak demo day at GB's Lake in Smyrna.
Okay.
So it's a chance for you to at least meet some of us, and maybe then you can just send us messages, and if we know a tournament's going on.
Okay, there you go. Brian Farrell, I never knew about blah, 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 snot. I never knew that. I'm about to enter some kayak tournaments. I thought they were lake specific, and some are.
Some are.
Some are.
Some are state, some are region,
Yeah.
some are national.
And what,
I will say on the national ones, good luck beating the guys from California because they kick my teeth in them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to go for guys that get in different states.
And a lot of them will do like their own division. So it'll be like Northern, Central, and then there'll be one specifically for Texas, Florida, and California, since they grow the biggest bass and typically so they'll separate them out. I know Ben Milliken's done a couple of his digital tournaments and things like that to where those are separated out. So you can definitely look at different regional tournaments and things like that when it comes to that kind of stuff.
And check the rules on the tournaments you're interested in because, for example, I don't run a motor. So I can find tournaments that are people powered only.
Yeah.
People powered.
I mean, I don't care.
He's fishing them PP tournaments.
People powered tournaments.
I'll fish against anybody. I don't care what electronics or what motor. But if you're not comfortable doing it, you can find a division that's set up how you want.
There you go. All right. How about
Oh,
Lily?
no.
Look, Lily the Hammer
That's got to be Nathan.
is in there like
Bigfoot.
that. Bigfoot. Hey, John, missed you. But anyway, I know Steve Billington fishing up there. Power fishing, 15 foot or less, 6 foot or less visibility, preferably 4. And just Doug Rice. I love fishing shallow to 30 feet, pretty much my comfort zone. And just trying to make sure I didn't miss anybody else's comment. Eddie Hudson, it was what, 21
and a half.
21 and a half won that tournament. So again, so what I want to do is I want to bridge the gap between John and Clint right here, because Clint basically said he likes to fish clear, deep, very deep.
So throw up DP's comment right there, because that describes my entire tournament on Saturday. Is hung up trying to force feed the fish. I got locked into a pattern that I had, went kind of messing around on Labor Day to try to be like I hadn't been on Lanier in like a month, and went messing around and ended up catching 22 pounds and was like, okay, I'm locked in on this pattern. Like this should be the deal. It was like literally I would throw any bait, everything at these fish, and they would not touch anything. And then I found one bait they would absolutely crush every time. So every time I pulled up to a specific brush pile, I was catching a 4-pounder out of that brush pile. And so I was locked in. I was like, okay, this is the deal. This is what I'm going to run. If I run enough brush piles, it's going to happen eventually. And I got so locked in to that specific bite. And then when I broke off that crankbait early on, I was literally just like lost. And so I couldn't find another bait to replicate what that bait was doing. And so I'm trying to run through all my other rotations of things, trying to make this brush pile thing happen. And I was force feeding the fish what I thought was getting bit, and it wasn't. And so what ended up winning that tournament was keying in on those small bait fish offshore, which is my game. Like that's what I'm really good at, is targeting those offshore fish, so super deep water, timber fish and things like that. But I got so locked into my brush pile deal and those deeper brush piles that it ended up hurting me in the tournament. Like we literally weighed in 2 fish for 6 pounds. Like it was a disappointment at best, coming into it thinking, okay, I've got a shot at winning this thing. And I really knew that I was on the fish and around the fish. And it's not like the fish left. Like every place I pulled up to, those fish were still there. There were still those quality 3, 4, 5 pounders that you need to be successful in a tournament. And I was still around the fish, but I was trying to force feed them the one pattern that I got bit on. Conditions kind of changed. The water levels dropped a little bit before. We had a lightning storm the night before, and I didn't adjust to, hey, maybe these fish were affected by that change in weather pattern, and go look for something else. Like I wasn't looking for something else until the last hour of the tournament. And that's when I kind of realized, okay, maybe there is something more to be had out there, but I stuck to my guns and it didn't work out. But very well, I could have ran that same pattern and it worked out. So in your head, you have to figure out decision-making wise, okay, this is what I'm confident in and I'm going into it. But when it starts to not work, you're faced with the point of, do I change techniques? Do I change the structure that I'm fishing? Do I change the baits that I'm fishing? Or do I completely throw the plan out the window and try to adjust to the conditions and figure out what they're going for? So that's where why bass fishing is so hard in these tournament scenarios, because you're constantly trying to figure out what changes do I need to make? What adjustments do I need to make to truly put the right fish in the boat? And that's what makes these guys so good, is they're efficient at changing and adapting to the conditions and what's going on.
Yeah. Real quick. Hello, Danny Stark from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Appreciate you joining us.
That's cool.
Steve Billington. Well, let me hit LTS real quick because TikTok goes faster. I've got them to eat a big spoon pretty good the last couple months on secondary points with brush. Underwood was doing pretty good with the spoons as well. Now, Steve wants to know, were you force feeding them because you were seeing them on forward facing?
Ultimately, yes.
Or trying to force feed
I think,
them.
yeah. So I was seeing the fish. I locked up with one that took me into a pile and broke me off. And I had the confidence because I knew those fish were there. I knew that if I kept sticking, or I thought that if I stuck to that pattern, that I would make these fish bite. And I had enough new water to run that was similar water that, like, whether I had gone and marked those brush piles forward facing sonar or not, that was going to be my goal, is go still target those piles faster. But forward facing sonar ultimately allowed me to run those 45 piles twice in one tournament day. Whereas if I didn't have it, I'd probably lose a lot more baits in the piles. And then I also probably would have only hit maybe half of those piles.
Were you seeing the same thing? I couldn't see our screen. Jonathan was on front of the boat, but we would pull up and the fish were staged in the top of the brush where you want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was throwing small baits and I'm throwing big baits, and he would see the fish come up out of the brush on both the large and small. But as soon as they'd get to them, they'd slam on the brakes. And
it happened every single brush pile I hit.
Yeah,
it was like they
so
looked,
hard to trigger
they never looked so fired up and ready. Like, it was like textbook. You pull up to a pile, you see 20 fish floating in the top of it, ready to eat. Like, so when you have a pressured brush pile versus an unpressured brush pile, the biggest difference utilizing forward facing is if you pull up on the pile and they're all floating in the top of it, kind of spread out, not very tight together. That's the perfect textbook. Like, those fish are active, looking to eat, right? So every brush pile I pulled up to, for the most part, they were set up just how you want them to be. And that's how they were set up on Monday when I caught them. But the thing is like, the bait selection must have changed, or it was just a matter of those brush pile fish were a little bit different and probably affected more by by the conditions than those really deep water fish that were actively feeding on bait. So I think it was a matter of timing, water conditions changing, that kind of stuff. But yeah.
John is so good at catching fish. The fish tell stories of him. Oh, there you go. Listen to that. But he was out of place. Michael Bradley, yes, this is AKA Cletus to my right and everything. So, okay, but I'm going to ask you this. So, like, John and Farmer, they started off shallow. That was Farmer's game plan. And knowing Farmer, if the shallow bite was working, he'd have stayed there all day.
That was my hope.
That was your, and he'll even tell you that, not that he struggles, but he has a harder time going deep. But you guys made that adjustment. Now, Clint, let me ask you this. How come you didn't, when you weren't getting what you wanted out there deep, did it ever cross your mind to go shallow where it's not your strength?
So I did it for the last hour of the day, go shallow, just trying to see if, okay, maybe these fish that are pushed off, maybe they pulled up with the falling water. Maybe they pulled up and they just weren't up there.
Yeah.
Like they were not up there at that time of day. Now, maybe they're there the first hour. I do believe I talked to a lot of guys that, like, right before the sun came up, the bite was good up shallow, and then it completely turned off. But that's the thing, is like, you have this plan in your head of like, okay, if I keep doing this, eventually I'm going to hit that bite window and they're going to fire. Mm-hmm. So I knew that if I keep changing all these variables where, like, I go deep, shallow, deep, shallow, deep, shallow all day, I'm going to eventually miss miss that bite window or something like that. Whereas like if you stick with one pattern, it's like, okay, I'm going to run across it eventually. And I just didn't, and like, that's one of the hardest parts is like, when do you make that adjustment and know, okay, at what point in like me reflecting back on that tournament day, at what point should I have given up on that pattern, scrapped it, and went and looked for something else? Because I truly didn't until the last hour of the
Right. So you like, I'm confident doing this. I'm going to stick to it. Eventually it's going to work out. Pull up craft. Well, Tyler said he missed some opportunities on busting fish. He just couldn't get them to trigger on anything. They would just follow it. And that's kind of basically what you were saying.
Yeah.
Pull up Craftmaster right there. Sometimes we make good decisions in tournaments and sometimes not. That's what gives us the hope. Every blast off, it's sweet when it all comes together for sure. And I think Clint probably went into that tournament thinking, I'm going to bust him on this pattern that I've figured out. And then John, knowing that Farmer's shallow, and Farmer was confident in the shallow bite. You guys were the same way.
And I don't know. I felt like he was kind of saddled with me as a partner in that tournament because I was so out of my element that he was the one that had to make the decision to do something different because I'm not comfortable fishing deep clear water at all.
Right.
I don't know that lake at all. And on the smaller lakes I fish, I can do map study in the very small area I'm covering with a kayak. I didn't do any research on Lanier. I was being lazy. I felt like I put too much pressure on him. Then when he made the proper choice for us to change from shallow to deep, I was still very stubborn and I would not change from throwing big baits because I am confident I can catch a fish on a big swim bait. And it took me hours to accept the fact I was going to have to drop down to not only conventional tackle, but even smaller.
Yeah. I totally get it because that's your big baits. That's your comfort zone.
Hey, I'm going to catch fish on them.
You're going to catch fish. Let's see. They retreated to the top of the brush, but it sounds like they were pressured. They were huddled together tightly in the brush. Craftmaster says full moon. They flipped like a switch for a few days, either side. Collins, what's up, Collins? I'm amazed that you're awake at this time of night. He couldn't buy a topwater bite. And let's see.
I tried to run some topwater towards the afternoon, like noon to 1, roughly. I had they would crash over it, but they were just not keyed quite in on it. Like I was just trying to force it, and it was a tough bite.
I want to ask you this, John, because you're around here enough to know, and you've watched this show for long enough that you understand that you've heard us say thousands of times, it seems like, that Lanier is a killer offshore lake.
Mm-hmm.
You've also heard us talk about your underspins, your ball head jigs and all that, but you had it in your mind that I'm going to be able to catch a big bass or big fish on a big bait anywhere.
I was convinced that I am good enough with a swim bait that I was going to make them eat.
Yeah.
And I did get one bite on a big swim bait. And I mean, we caught our limit of fish. I did catch a couple of fish, and yeah, it's humbling when you think you're very good at something and the fish decide you're not going to be on that day.
100%.
Oh no, yeah, that happens.
And the thing is we're in the same boat because I was so confident that was what's going to happen and that's how I was going to get bit, and it just didn't work out. That's just how it goes.
All right, so let's do it this way. Now, Clint, on a scale of 1 to 10, deep water fishing, 10 being the highest confidence level.
On 1 to 10,
10 being the highest.
8.7.
Okay, shallow.
Shallow 6.2.
So it does go down.
Yep.
All right, John. Shallow, I know what it's going to be.
Oh yeah, 8, 9.
8, 9. All right, and deep is.
Do I got somebody on the front of the boat that can read graph?
Yeah, I know. I too. But I know you had to feel at some point. You're like, okay, I am out of my element.
Right.
And you told me about you didn't even have the right equipment and all that.
Right. Yeah, I had 3 swim bait rods and 1 spinning rod. Basically, what it came down to was I know some guys aren't cool with the back of the boat casting to the front.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked Jonathan if he was cool with me casting up there. And so I'm watching the graph. And when he would cast, I would sling a swim bait right over his left shoulder to fish the same area.
Right.
And like I said, eventually I did go down to the little blade bait, which to me is more of a winter bait, but it was by far the smallest thing I had. And they were knocking. I mean, they were tiny bait fish that they were going after, and that was the only thing I had that was even close to that size.
I got
It was the size of the eye on most of your baits. I feel
sure.
Like that bait was so small.
Yeah, and then one of the spots I caught was actually smaller than that bait.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I was lost.
Yeah.
And that's the
I'm
thing.
glad
like,
you said it that way.
My fish on Monday were coughing up 5-inch bluegill. So I was like, okay, like this is why I targeted the ones that I was like, okay, they're feeding on these like 4 to 6 inch bluegill. So like, that's why I'm going to focus on with my bait. So everything I had tied on, I didn't have super teeny tiny threadfin on the menu for them.
Yeah. All right. So here's what I want to do. And Tony, you can chime in on this, and you guys in the comment section, I want you guys to chime in on this. So we're going to help out John first. All right. John being a shallow water guy, that's where his confidence is 100% out. And now, granted, you need to go fishing deep a lot more, but how do we get him started to where when he gets in this next situation where he's on a big lake in the back of somebody's boat, to build the confidence, you know, to go out there and feel like he's got a shot at catching fish? I think first it starts off with the equipment. You know, that's the first thing, the equipment, because you definitely didn't have the right equipment with the big swim bait rods and all that. But you guys in the comment section too, I want you guys give us some options for guys like John, that bank beaters is what you want to call them.
And really, I think it comes down to time on the water. I've spent countless hours learning how to throw a big bait.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's a big tool.
I don't put the time in on the smaller stuff because that's not how I like to fish. I think that's one thing about tournaments, because I don't fish mini tournaments. I think that's a good element of the tournament, is it forces you to learn new stuff.
Yes.
So
I get that.
And think about these tournament schedules. Like when you look at like a big picture, as in like a Bassmaster Elite Series, right? How versatile and diverse these fisheries are that they go to. They're trying completely different things, completely different patterns on these new things. And they're forced to go to the Pascatank when it's blowing 40. They're forced to go to the Sabine River and catch dinks. Like they're forced to try to get out of their comfort zone to catch these fish. And that's what makes it so entertaining to watch. So like in your local trail, when you're fishing these different lakes, you could go from Herring Lake to all of a sudden you're on Chickamauga flipping grass, and you're like, what do I do? And then boom, you're out of your comfort zone. But that's how you get better. Like and so like, I think when you're trying to go from, okay, I'm a shallow water hammer and I know shallow water, where do I even start with fishing deep? And what I think you need to do is you simplify, like keep it simple, stupid. So I would go with a drop shot, a shaky head, and a jig. And so what that gives you is your drop shot's your most finesse. You can access deep water fast with it. You can change baits frequently with it without having to change out your hook and things like that. You can go from a minnow presentation to a worm to a 6-inch robo worm. You can go, there's a lot of different variables you can do.
Yeah,
dice. You can do all kinds of different things. With the shaky head, that's your one you typically have a shaky head worm that you're pretty confident in, and a weight that will work from 3 foot to 30 foot, and you'll be just fine. So that like keeps things simple. Typically I wouldn't even change out the worm on it. I'd keep that worm on all day, every day, and just hope that like eventually you will get bit on that shaky head. So you have one that doesn't change, one that you can change up depending on, like, if you're seeing them cough up that tiny bait, put on a tiny bait fish profile. If you're getting bit on a drop shot worm, keep throwing that drop shot worm. If you're not getting bit on that worm, switch it up to a bait fish presentation, see if you get bit. If not, then go back to a different color of the worm. Maybe clouds came in, storm rolls in, things like that. Then you change up your color a little bit. Like, there's so many, but the thing is you want to control the controllables. Like, with your jig being your third rod on deck, like, you have that bigger bluegill crawfish presentation. So that kind of covers that box. And so with those 3 rods, you can go out there and really be like, okay, if I run through this rotation on this one deep water area, I'm going to get some type of clue, hopefully, in theory, that of something they'll key in on. And then you go to the next deep water spot and you try that rotation, and then you go to the next spot and you try that rotation. Eventually you're going to start to get some clues together to help you dial in those other 2 presentations that you're in. So like if they're really only eating that tiny bait fish stuff, then you cut that shaky head off, you tie on a little underspin. And then you can really start to break down the water that way, figuring out like what they're keying in on. And then you can start to transfer your other baits to more of that profile once you start to gather more clues.
Yeah. So on TikTok, Aquaholic says it was up there. Let me see if I can scroll that back down. I have lots of luck in shallow with green pumpkin. Should I change color for deep water because I can't catch fish deep? I don't think sometimes, not necessarily. No, I don't think you have to do on that. Darian Moss, let me read a couple comments from over here on the YouTube side. A Cinco is a good thing to try deep. And I will say this, When we went to Gunnersville, you talking about being out of element. I'm used to all these lakes up here, that grass. Like
Really?
it was like the most not intimidating, but kind of intimidating thing because I'm not used to throwing grass and all that. And I did not have the baits.
Mm-hmm.
Never fished it before. So, but the one thing that I caught fish on, other than the chicken rig, was actually a weightless Senko just off the back of the boat while Dave was throwing his A rig on a road bed. And I was just basically dead sticking, kind of dragging real slow. And I caught like a 3.5 pound largemouth or something like that, just doing that. So Senko works everywhere, and that's always a good choice. Steve Billington says an underspin with a tactical fishing MRE. Got to get that in there for sure.
Alex threw that a ton on Saturday.
Yeah, Alex is out of town, so playing the role of Alex tonight is Steve Billington fishing. You're right. Tracy Coker says a jig, shaky head, pop-ar, walking baits, spinner baits, and crank baits can be good to start. That's kind of one thing. Let me read Jim Wright's, and then I want to go back to you on that. As a co-angler, I always had spinner bait, crankbait, jig, shaky head tied on, and a couple of guest baits. I also talked with the boater about what his plan was. Now, see, that's the one thing, too, is like going in, you didn't have any of that. Really, pretty much. You just had that one.
We had a plan.
Y'all had a plan.
Our plan was him on the front of the boat with a buzz bait and me following up, trying all day to catch the kicker
with the big swim bait.
And
he popped some decent largemouth early.
Yeah, within the first 30 minutes, we
had
a 4.5.
What did you tell me before the show when you said he caught that big? And in your mind, what was your confidence level?
Oh, we're about to crush everybody.
That's what I said when I caught my first fish.
And then the sun peeked over the tree, and not only did that bite stop, the bait fish were gone.
Yeah.
We didn't see a bluegill. I mean, once that sun came up, it was just dead.
Which in theory, you'd think it would only get better.
You would think.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, I was crushed.
Listen, when he said that, Tony, before the show, I started laughing because like I have said that so many times.
Oh yeah, we've all been
like,
there.
You know, bust a big one first 2 or 3 casts or get a limit quick. And
it
like,
was our
yeah.
first stop.
Right.
And I was like, oh, we're on.
But the thing is the reason we think that is because momentum is huge. If you can start to get that momentum early, a lot of times that will roll throughout the day and you'll keep that momentum going.
Yeah, confidence is so key in fishing, and I was way overconfident.
Well, you can be way overconfident, and then you also can be way, underconfident in your abilities
where
too.
You spin
like,
out.
Where you spin out because you could have been like, even though y'all went out deep, you were throwing what you felt confident in, but you could have been like from the get-go, once he crunked the motor up and took off out there, you could have been like, oh no. You at least had, I'm still going to try to do this. And I still can do it. It didn't work. Right. But you know what I'm saying? You could have spun out the moment he said we're going deep because that's not your game.
Right. And then he's telling me on the graph that he's seeing fish come up on, and I wasn't throwing anything huge. I was throwing 6 and 7 inch trick shad. But he's telling me on the graph they're coming up towards it, and then they're stopping. Yep. And then I hooked one, and although I lost it at the boat, I hooked one on a 5-inch bull shad, the multi-joint. And so my confidence goes back up, where I think if I had not even hooked that fish, I would have transitioned to a smaller bait sooner.
Yeah.
But
I had the same thing happen.
Yeah. It's just,
it's funny.
That's what I'm saying. And in 2 different bodies, different styles.
How you want to catch them, and then one screws up and actually bites it. He was the fluke of the crew of, the other 100 in that brush pile didn't care. So It's just kind of this false confidence.
Well, I always talk about fishing with Brett Matthews. That first time we did a Hammond's Digital and had that rock crawler in the first 3 casts, boom, boom, boom. I put 11 something already in there. And I'm like, oh, we're going to kick everybody's ass. It is on. And I didn't get a bite for the rest of the day. Like, I mean, you're talking about spinning out. And then we watch people just pass us all day long. So I've been in your shoes when it comes to that. Eddie J is fishing Lanier for the first time this Saturday, launching out of Laurel Park. Hey, dude. Hey, that's a you're going to make that ride. I don't know. You going south? You got a plan? Be interested to know what you're planning on doing. Tony.
Yep.
These guys have been doing all this talking, and let's talk about what you see, because you feel comfortable both ways.
Yeah.
So, like for John, to get that confidence, is it just something he needs to get in his kayak and go fish a little bit deeper? Is it something that he needs to start fishing out of a boat a little bit more? I mean, what is the answer for him to build up his confidence?
For me, I had to stop what I was confident in completely. Like cold turkey, stop fishing shallow, go deep, fish deep water, and figure out just figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Research. There's so much research out there. And one thing in my mind I had to get out of my mind is what's deep. Deep's relative, right? Because we'll say 20 foot. Some people are like, well, 20 foot's deep. Well, your boat's 20 foot. You know what I'm saying? It's not that deep.
Right. Yeah. That is a very big misconception.
I mean, it's not that 40 foot. That's 2 of your boats.
Yeah.
It's not really deep water. And so I started going fishing fishing deeper water and treating it like I was fishing shallow water. You know what I'm saying? I was fishing same style, same, I'll go out to Wedowee with a black and blue jig. It's a deep, clear lake, and I'll go out there and wear them out with a black and blue jig. No different. It's just, and this time of the year, for me, last year, I focused on my electronics. I don't know what kind of electronics you run, John, but
he don't.
Yeah.
Well,
you don't have the live scope or nothing like that.
No, I had side scan until I dragged it over 20 beaver dams and smashed it. So
yeah,
now I have down
not good.
imaging.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
This time last year, I went out and said, I'm going to find with side scan, down scan, and 2D, I'm going to start finding bait fish. That was my goal for the fall. Because everybody talks about, fall sucks. It's a terrible time to fish. They're literally bait balls are balling up and just swimming around. So I just went and started spending hours scanning, looking for balls of bait and then fishing those balls of bait and figuring out what they were hitting on. And that's how I got a little bit better with the deep water. So now it doesn't bother me as much because it was always about breaking it down.
Yeah.
Big water, the deep water. Now it's more like, okay, now I just got to go spend, 30, 40 minutes riding, which is pretty comfortable,
right.
doing that. And then just fishing, throwing stuff at them till they bite.
It's always interesting. Anytime we get somebody from Florida up here.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, you guys fish really, really deep and everything. But you're right. I mean, if you ever played adult league softball, it's only 60 foot to first base.
Yeah.
And it ain't that far. And even in the pros, it's 90 feet. That's really, when we think deep, everybody's thinking, oh my God, you're down there like in the Marianas Trench. Yeah. And you know what I'm saying? Or however they pronounce it, but you're really not that far down.
Don't get me wrong. I still spin out thinking about fishing timber in 70 foot. I mean,
yeah,
even though relatively that's only, 3 of your boats, basically, that's still, you're trying to get a bait down there. It still gets in your head a little bit.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Let's see. Pockets around Laurel should produce, Eddie J. Collins is saying out there. Thad Moody Outdoors. Let's bring in our biologist buddy. To get confident in baits, I'll take nothing but the baits I hate out, but no catch fish and fish with nothing but that.
Yeah.
It's taking the baits. Yeah. Like, John, what is the one way, like right now, that you hate? One technique that you just can't stand?
Drop shot. Honestly, any worm other than a wobblehead or Texas rig,
yeah,
I don't like it. I
so
don't
finesse presentation on a worm
at all. Yeah, because even if I'm throwing a soft plastic, it's basically Magnum baits beef crawl on a wobblehead.
Yeah,
or a dirty jigs no jack.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, something huge.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't like it, and I don't get to fish all the time. I get to fish hopefully once a weekend, and so yeah, I want to fish how I want to fish.
I get it,
but
and we're not picking on John. We're just using him as an example for you guys. He knew, but I'm the same way. Like, you guys know, I love throwing a wacky. I like to throw it deep too and all that, but I know it's more effective up shallow. And sometimes I get stuck in my head with that shallow bite. And then when we go off, there are probably 100 things that will produce more in deep water than a weightless wacky.
And then you haven't built confidence on these things at all yet, have you?
No,
and you're starting to.
Oh yeah,
on the glides.
No, I'm definitely.
Good Lord, big swim baits and stuff.
Do you fish them at all, Clint?
Yeah, I fish them a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't. I have zero confidence. In fact, a perfect example. I just gotten that new the KGB swim rod from Spro and all that. And we had a tournament out at Latham, and I had a bull shad tied on, and I made 5 casts with that thing. And said, no, this ain't for me. Not today. Can't do it. Went right back to my wacky worm and a buzz bait and stuff for different things. But like, that's something you got to commit to it for sure. But that is one of the things, like, to being versatile. I feel like soft plastics I can do. I feel like I got enough knowledge with just a little bit of everything else to be kind of slightly dangerous, but not knowing what the hell I'm doing. But when it comes to big glide baits and swim baits like that, no, dude, like, that is the most uncomfortable thing in the world for me.
And that's another thing too, is like, you got to choose your battles. Like, benefit tournament, you're doing something good, you're out there, it's no pressure, right? So that's a great time to learn in a tournament scenario. But most of the time, what you really need to do is when you're going to go to your same old lake and go fish your same old areas, that's when you need to put the stuff you're not confident in on the deck and go learn it. Because like, the more that you can do that, because the thing is you can practice your confidence, and that's good to practice your confidence and figure that stuff out. But like, it's a lot harder to go into it game day when you haven't done it.
Oh yeah.
And that's what made you put that swim bait down.
Oh yeah. Tournament day is not the day to do it.
It's not,
No.
not
and I
necessarily.
I think it being a benefit tournament helped with my nerves a lot. On a kayak tournament, I'm throwing up before the tournament starts because I'm determined I want to win or at least make a decent showing. This one, not only was it a benefit, so I felt like my money that I was donating was going towards a good cause, but I also had the bar set so low for myself because I knew I was going to struggle that there was no stress. My biggest stress was please don't do something dumb on Jonathan's boat.
Don't hit him in the back of the head.
I wish you'd have hit him in the back of the head with one of them big swim baits one time, man. It would have knocked him out.
I don't want that big man
Then we'd have a
mad at
story. Trolling motor stuck on 10. He's there flying around a pocket in circles. Jonathan's up there. That would have been fantastic. It would have been good.
But yeah, as far as I had no pressure because it was a benefit tournament. It was a great way, I think, for me to learn.
Yeah,
for sure. Great first tournament for sure.
Oh, is it? Yeah, definitely no pressure. I know Hogan over there was talking about throwing a shaky head and stuff, dragging it, because that is one of those baits you can throw shallow or deep. LTS fishing, I'll throw a big mag draft all day, but I have zero confidence in the big glides. And we all have that one thing we have no confidence in. Kent Goins, fishing shallow is supposed to be fishing for 10% of the bass, is what I've heard. Well, listen, I guess that's lake dependent too, but you can John catches some like mag fish where he fishes.
Yeah, all year long. From what I've heard, and all my studies are from, I've got
and he does study.
I've got a degree from YouTube.
Yeah.
But
YouTube University, baby.
That's right, baby.
So basically 50% of the fish stay where they stay. 50% are nomadic, so they're moving. So of that 50 that stay where they stay, I figure 50 stay in deep, 50 stay in shallow. So I'm fishing for those 25%.
You kind of think about it like your high school graduation, right? 50% of the people go off to college and 50% stay at home,
Yeah. I get it. I get it for sure.
That's kind of how it goes.
DP's fishing misadventures. Jerk bait is my nemesis, and that was one of mine, and I actually started throwing it a little more this year. You just got to throw it. And that daggum Ned rig. Now, listen, I'm just telling you, the Ned rig catches fish. I get it. It catches fish.
I found on the jerk bait because I got like zero rhythm. I struggle with one on a bait caster. But if
it's got to be tough sitting down.
If I throw it on my spinning rod, I stand up a lot on my kayak unless I'm having to move. But I found it's much easier for me to fish it and actually catch fish on a spinning rod. Yeah.
LTS Fishing says, y'all have motivated me to take a trip to Latham and get some time in with the big glides. Any suggestion for the glides? John, that's a you question.
Let me know when you're going to go.
Yeah, he'll go with you.
I'm less than an hour from Latham. I guess the first question, how heavy a rod do you got?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because this guy's 4 ounces, but really the Buka brand, which is the ABS version of the 6-inch trick shad, it's only 1.5 ounces. You can use it on conventional tackle. I took it up to Michigan 3 weeks ago, and I was catching even smallmouth on it. It's small enough to catch fish, but it's big enough to build your confidence.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Thad Moody.
Yeah, I've seen that.
John's so white, he can't even rhythm a jerk bait.
I
will tell you this: if you go to ancestry.com, I am the whitest man in the history of the world. I mean, like I really am. It was like 96% Great Britain, 3%. Eastern European and all that. So I'm like, I have no rhythm.
What's the 1%?
I don't know. I don't know yet. It's just mutt. I'm just a mutt. Eddie J, this would be a question for some of you guys. I fish Hartwell, Russell, Clark's. Does Lanier fish basically the same? Figured on heading south down the river to get a little more mid-lake. I would say Hartwell is probably more closer of those lakes than
for sure.
Hartwell will be closer to Lanier than the other two. But there are things on Russell and Clark's Hill that you can do that will work on Lanier. But I would say Hartwell.
I would say Russell and Clark's Hill are more of your hybrid lakes that you can still fish the shallow patterns and also the offshore stuff that you'd find on a place like Lanier or Hartwell. But Hartwell is very much like that. I would say 70% offshore herring stuff, 30% up shallow largemouth kind of deal.
Yeah. So, yeah, hey, what's up, Gone Fish? Well, he's got a 7-11
Okay, so you can
You know,
throw the
he can throw
bigger
the big
baits.
He says around here somewhere, which means he
Okay.
don't know exactly. He's got one. He don't know where it's at.
The broomstick's in the closet.
Broomstick is
so
in the
gear it
closet.
up on 20 to 25 pound line, 7-something to 1 ratio. The 6-inch only weighs 1.5 ounces. Buka brand has released at ICAST, and it should be out this fall, an 8-inch version of that. The Spro Shad's a great way. And these are ways to get into glide bait without spending an absolute ton of money.
Yep.
Once
you
you
can
build
quick.
confidence on those, I would really say look at some of the hand-built resin baits. They do fish.
For sure.
I can compare a 6-inch trick shad resin to ABS. They're designed by the same guy. They're the same profile, and they fish very differently from each other.
Yeah, because of what they're made out of. Yeah.
But you don't want to spend $170 and not on something you may not like. So I would start out with the ABS trick shads, the Spro Shad. Strike King's coming out with that new
The Tater Hog.
the
Junior,
Hogfather
Hogfather
Jr.
Yeah.
So it's a collab with Tater Hog. I'm very interested in that.
Really good bait.
Yeah. So there you go. You got options. It's what.
Clutch
What you
Eco's another one, $95, and it's still made out of resin. It doesn't chip. You can smack it on any dock. He's literally done videos where you can run
That's from
over it with the
Justin's
truck.
company, right? Or no? What's his name?
Josh.
Josh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that was
Josh
another
plays.
thing different. Although I fish shallow all the time, I fish electric only reservoirs, which don't have docks.
Mhm.
Totally.
Doc. Yeah. You get on lake with docks. It's different, ain't it?
Yeah, I smashed $150 bait into a metal post. I was like, oh my God.
Listen, and
I
they're
put that
loud
one back
too.
in the tackle box.
Like even a weightless wacky when it hits wrong. I mean, it makes a lot of noise too. Trust me. How I know, I don't know.
Yeah.
What was the last one you mentioned? Called again, the durable one. LTS wants to know.
Clutch Eco.
Okay, it was you.
ECO.
All right, Steve Billington Fishing, and this is actually true. Yeah, ringing the dinner bell. I've done it. I ring it all the time. 10% of the bass in any given fishery is a lot of fish.
Yep.
That's true. I mean, listen, one thing that whether you're for or against forward-facing sonar, if you want to actually see how many fish are in a given lake that you had no idea was there, that is the one thing that it will show
I
you.
easily saw over 1,500 fish on
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. And it's
then
crazy.
I had talked to a fish biologist. He's like, give me your 3 best fishermen with your 3 favorite baits. And then I'm going to roll in behind you with an electric fish boat and I'm going to hurt your feelings.
Yep. I've heard
Oh,
Because
that
there's
multiple
so
times.
many fish
Mhm.
in the area that you're not catching anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, trust me, that I can believe that 100%. If you ever catch a good one on a big glide, you could easily get addicted to it
Mhm.
for sure. Then what's up, Nick James? Now, Thad Moody, if you're still in the comment section, could you read Doc Holliday's question out here and answer it for him? He wants to know, he has a 5-acre pond that is overrun with 9 to 12-inch dinks. I hope to take 100 out of it this fall and winter. Is that enough to help in the long run to increase size?
Definitely wouldn't hurt.
It ain't gonna hurt nothing. Okay, so he did. Thad's got it right there, Doc. If you see it in the comments section, they call me Collins. That Spro Shad caught my PB. It's an awesome bait.
And Spro's releasing the smaller version of that. I'm not sure if it's this fall or coming out at the start of the year. The little guy.
Yep.
And I'm looking forward to that one.
To the
Yeah.
little guy. That's
Yeah.
what my wife calls me.
That's
Steve Billington Fishing. The sound off the docks is how some people name their kids. I can believe that.
Boom, yeah, get over here.
Gone fishing with Diaz. What's up, buddy? Can glides and tricks be fished year round, or are there better times throughout the year? That's one. That's a question for you guys.
I fish them year round, but
I know you do. What, Tony? You just get into it, right?
I'm just getting into it, but I'm telling you, if you can fish a jerk bait all year, you can fish a glide bait all year long.
Mhm.
They'll
Okay, that's a good
It's
answer.
basically a hard plastic fluke. You think about it on a fluke, you're throwing a fluke from April to late October.
right. And although glides are the hot thing right now, especially the chop glide, don't forget the multi-joint swim bait, the old
Mhm.
original. If you're catching fish on a spinner bait, tie on a multi-joint big bait and go for it, because it's a fast reaction bite and it fishes the same way.
Mhm.
But I know the chop glides are so hot right now. I think that may hurt us that fish them so much because everybody's going to start fishing them.
Mm-hmm.
I got a sneak peek of some of the new Buka stuff coming out, and I think that's going to help a lot of guys transition from conventional, which I said, selfishly, I don't want to see that because I enjoy
Oh,
that
yeah.
bite, especially on pressured lakes where not many people are throwing it. But it is an incredibly fun way to fish.
I like Bottom Line Outdoors comment right there. Pull that up. And this is true right here. If you want to be more versatile, this right here, I don't fish the same lake twice in a month, and I fish different times of the day. That helps me to be more versatile, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on that, Tony?
I mean, I agree 100%. It's also like something Clint said a minute ago. Stop picking up your favorite baits. Throw the stuff that you're not comfortable with. Like I know when I got back into fishing, I picked up a jig and went all day just fishing a jig. And I've gone out to the lake near the house with stuff that typically would only work linear.
Yeah.
And the jerk bait, that's how I got comfortable with it. Is I took it to my home lake and said, I'm fishing this until I catch a fish with it. And next thing I know, I caught my PB with it.
Yeah.
You know, I've even thrown the cast, you know, OG through the Echo this weekend, caught the biggest fish of the day on an Echo on a ball head on a lake that typically you wouldn't throw that on, but I did it and it caught fish. And now I've got more confidence in that bait. And, you know, picking up stuff that you don't have as much confidence with and using it in even those shallow water, you know, just getting confidence with it.
Okay, I got that. What's up, Farmer? He's in there. Kyle Brown, been wearing them out on the sashimi. New bait for me. You got to try new things for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you this, everybody makes fun of the dice and all that, but the guys that throw it a lot, you get a lot of good reports back. Let's just say that. And a lot of people don't do that. Now, okay, let's flip this because we've been picking on John for a while. Let's go to you, Clint, because you said that if you go shallow, your confidence goes down to a 6.5 on a 10 scale.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that your confidence suffers?
So that's the way I started to learn how to fish was that way. And that was also in my beginning stages of fishing through college, fishing out of a kayak. That's kind of what I was confident in, was throwing a spinner bait, a jig, and a shaky head. Like that was all I threw. And then I learned that I could catch them on a spinner bait, a jig, and a shaky head offshore, and started fishing those same baits offshore. But when I go up shallow still, I wouldn't say I feel uncomfortable. I just feel like the bigger fish that I'm going to be around and have a better chance at targeting is offshore. So like when I go up shallow, I feel like there's so much bank to run that it's not as concentrated waypoints that I can just run through on a lake like Lanier where you have to run and gun so much. So like I didn't have creeks that I was like, okay, they should be on these docks because of this. I just had history to where I was like, okay, I've caught them shallow on these couple stretches. Let me go check these couple stretches.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when I get up there and I'm trying to fish shallow, I'm like, okay, well, what if they pushed out or pulled up or vice versa? Like you're trying to figure out like where those fish are in the column. And if you you can fish so much dead water up shallow to where I feel like I can pinpoint and figure out, like, I knew that offshore was where I had the largest concentration of fish found and the best opportunity at making one react. When you're seeing 1,500 fish a day, sure as hell you think you'd get 5 bites, but I didn't.
Well, let me throw this at you now. And this is not a knock on it at all, but do you think because you're very good with your electronics out deep that you're not able to utilize them as much when you go shallow, or is it just a different mindset?
I think it's a different mindset, and it's different cover you're fishing when you're fishing up shallow. So like the way you're being efficient, you can fish a stretch and be real efficient, but you also fish it real slow. So like if I'm trying to use forward facing sonar and pick apart and see what part of the docks are these fish set up on, are they set up on it at all? Like I will fish 5 docks in the amount of time I can fish 5 brush piles and cast at 5 times the amount of fish.
Oh yeah.
So
it's kind of a mental game right there.
And so like when you start seeing them like that, whereas like when that's all I could fish, fishing out of the kayak or the old Ranger that I had, when that was all I could fish, I would spend a majority of my day doing that. But now when you learn to be versatile and fish both shallow and deep, you have a whole lot more of the lake unlocked to try to break down and figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work, time of day, all that stuff. Like I could have gone down a stretch at 1:00 and the shallow bite been on, and then all of a sudden I feel like a hero. Or I could go down that same stretch and not catch a single fish and I zero.
Oh yeah. Well, it happens. Now there was a couple of questions about the sashimi. up there. I like it better than the Magic Swimmer. I just think it's got an extra joint in it. I just think it's got more movement.
Farmer hooked into a good one.
Yeah.
With the sashimi.
Now I will say this though, I do think you can cast the Magic Swimmer farther. That's just me in my experience. Does the fact that electronics play a role? That's what you were kind of answering to that.
For sure.
Cody Jones, I told you up there that East and West Antioch out there at Rocky, those were good lakes right there. And he got his PB or best of the year on those lakes. That I pull up Tim Hancock. And also to Cody Jones, anything that Tim Hancock says about Rocky, you should listen to. That man knows those lakes as well as anybody out there. But this is interesting. When I started out, I was lucky enough to have 3 lakes close by that offered nearly all types of fishing: crankbaits, spinnerbaits, topwater, flipping worms, jigs, etc. That's where I cut my teeth. And so going with that, I'll go back to you, John. Like you love Ackworth, and you like that nasty water. And I'll get to your question real quick, lifted lure keeper, in just a second. Well, actually, let's answer that real quick before it gets have to hop off. Where will the next world record be caught? And we'll just go largemouth bass.
Largemouth bass somewhere in Texas.
You think it'll be Texas?
Yeah.
Okay. It's good a guess.
They're the only state that's got any type of program trying to progress that.
Yeah, their biologists, their DNR is doing a fantastic job.
Okay.
They're putting the money in.
And they're 30 years ahead of every other DNR out there.
100%.
Because they started implementing that stuff in the 90s, and they're still working on it, to whereas any other place that starts doing it right now is still going to take another 10, 20 years before it starts to kick in.
Tyler Ward says the Bartlett.
What's up, Tyler?
So what I was going to get, I wanted to get that question out of the way. You fish Ackworth a lot, really shallow, nasty place that you like. If you like to get back in the crap, figuratively speaking, but you know what I'm saying.
It's literal on that lake.
It is literal on that lake. But how confident would you be of taking your kayak and going out and fishing the deeper parts of Ackworth to get more accustomed to it? Or do you just I like that? This is what I like.
Well, I like that. So majority of my time is going to be fishing how I want to. But I have hit Allatoona a lot. And I noticed, even though it's a highland reservoir with fairly clear water, not as clear as Lanier, that at least the fish I've caught in there, and I've caught at quite a few spots, but they seem to be more oriented on rock. There's a bunch of rock in Allatoona, whereas they seem to be all on the brush piles on Lanier. And then you say that Latham fishes very much like Lanier, but there's no brush. There's standing timber. So it seems like, other than driving an hour and a half to go fish Lanier every weekend, that I'm stuck.
I get it 100%. Tactical fishing, Danny Blue is definitely your color. Does it make me look slimmer or something like that? I'm just curious. But no, that what you're saying is interesting. But like, not everybody is blessed with what Tim had to have those lakes close to get more confident. Which he likes slim like Jim. Yeah, I like slim. I like how that works. I mean,
for convenience,
convenience. What would you do?
I live very close to Allatoona. I think a lot of it can transfer over to probably Lanier, even though they seem to set up very differently, but not nearly as different as shallow mudwater would to a clear highland reservoir. So I think it's a way I could practice a lot more, just because it's so close to the house. And Latham. Yeah, I like Latham. It doesn't like me very much.
And I know a lot of guides on Lanier that will go to Allatoona to get dialed. So like Allatoona is known for catching more numbers. So like when you're playing with new techniques and things like that, like especially the minnow game in the wintertime, a lot of people will go to Allatoona and go catch 50 14-inch spots, and then be able to translate that, go over to Lanier and implement those patterns.
But then I also catch myself on Allatoona going, well, I'm just going to go up this creek a little bit. And then I'm out of the kayak and I'm dragging it over laydowns. And now I'm way, way up the creek, and I'm fishing how I wanted to fish in the first place instead of trying anything new, even though the intention was to go learn clear water.
Yeah. All right, I've got your hybrid.
That looks good.
I've got your hybrid place to start on Allatoona. Get you a marina.
Yeah.
Go fish a marina, because you can sling big baits down the marina slips, and then in between. So let's say you fish down one side of a marina slip, and then in between going to those docks, that's when you try to focus on those ones that are on bait floating out there in the middle. And
that's then go. I'm very close to Victoria, which they just reopened. So that's a good idea. Thank you.
So
there
that,
you go.
that way you could kind of tit for tat, and it's like you're not completely out of your comfort zone,
Right.
but if you tell yourself like, okay, let me fish confident down this stretch of docks, and then let's try something new. And then next stretch, I'll get to fish my confidence baits, and then try something
that's a
new.
good idea.
And kind of just work your way into it that way.
See, there you go. We're solving problems here. Actually, too, I want you to pull up Captain J Morgan up there. Pull up that comment, and I'm going to hit my TikTok thing again that I got to do all the time so that we don't lose those people. Let me do this real quick. Read his question off for me, Clint, right there.
Does anyone keep a fishing log, weather, baits, catches, moon times, et cetera, et cetera? I would love to give anything to go back 25 years and start one and stay consistent.
Tim.
So I'm glad you asked that, because the gentleman right below you, Mr. Tim Hancock, has kept, and I can't give him to give it to me. I want him to do it, but he's not going to. He has kept a log of probably every fish he has caught since the 80s. Tim, you can comment on that. I think it's the 80s or something like that, of the time, the lake, the moon, whether Mrs. Hancock was nice to him the night before, you name it, anything that could have affected his fish, he's got it. And so one good thing about that is I've seen him, and it is pretty cool. So he can go back on history for sure. And you mentioned you'd love to have gone back 25 years. I mean, his is longer than that. And Tim can comment on how long it is. And but there are a few crazy people like Tim Hancock in the world that does that. And I guess
a lot of that is noted automatically on your phone if you take a picture. Like everybody's always joking about kayak guys take a picture of every fish they catch. And yeah, even the little thing I caught that was less than that, I took a picture of. But then you swipe up and it gives you the date, it gives you the time, it gives you a map of where you were. If you really want to get that far into it, then you can go back online and look at what the weather conditions were, the pressure, all of that.
Yeah.
And all that's accomplished by one click of your phone.
Exactly.
But I like him writing it down. I'm old school. I like the fact that he takes the time to write it down.
Yeah. So
I do.
a deeper
And I
dive,
would mess that up somehow on the phone.
So a deeper dive on the technology side is like you can have your phone, which I use that a lot. I'll go back and be like, okay, September, I got a tournament coming up on Chattooga. Let's see what I was doing last September. But I also record all my tournaments on my DJI action cameras. And so I was looking at my tournament schedule for this fall, and I was like, okay, let's see what tournaments line up and then kind of go see how I was fishing. And I was like, dang, I was wearing bibs and the water temp was 52. And I was like, it was late October. I was like, dang, that's crazy. Because like going into it this year, I was like, okay, it'll probably be like still moving bait, like still in the fall, like very beginning of fall patterns. And then I was like, dang, I was like bundled up.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like cool to watch back and be like, okay, I was catching them then. But then it also like, I was like, okay, well, let's see how this tournament schedule stacks up compared to last year. Well, we're fishing all the same lakes, but it's all completely different times of the fall.
Times.
So like none of them really helped. I'm like, okay, I was like, oh, I came in fourth in this tournament and we were up there October 31st. Well, we're going to be there a whole month earlier this year. So it's
totally
like,
different ballgame.
So I'm like, okay, well, the water temp's going to be this much, but you can kind of gauge off of it. You could be like, okay, so if the water temp, when I was fishing, it was 52, it should be roughly in the 60s by the time I fish this tournament. So what's going to be different? If I was catching them off the tips of laydowns at the end of October, are they going to be closer to the backside of those laydowns? Are they going to be up a little bit shallower, or are they still going to be pulled off deep on some of that deep structure? So you can kind of use it as a gauge too, to really look back and be like, okay, if I was catching them doing this, where do you go on either side of the water temperature? So thinking about the fall, it's just like the spring. So you're like, okay, if I was catching them on bed when it was 60 degrees and I'm fishing this tournament in March and that water temp's going to be closer to 50, you kind of reverse engineer your way back to like, okay, where should those fish be moving into that pattern?
I got you. So Gone Fishing with Ed said he takes pics of all his fish for date and locations. Helps me remember because I forget everything. Me too. And I forget to take the picture. That's the big thing. Go ahead and scroll all the way down, Tony, because I know we got okay, so we're there. I was worried that we were way far behind and all that.
You
So
missed Alex's
19
Epcot comment.
Oh
Up there.
no, Alex, does Alex join us tonight?
Yeah.
Let's see. Where's he at?
There it is.
There he is.
Oh,
We were missing you.
Oh, absolutely. Just got back to the resort.
I wish
from
you were in the
Epcot.
back of my boat so I could get a redo because I felt like I backboated him all day.
Oh,
long.
man.
You probably did.
I did.
You
actually.
probably did.
I did.
He didn't fuss about it though. So
No,
that's
he
pretty
said,
good.
I'll get the net, and he never had to.
That's the way I am with Underwood. That's the way I am with Underwood. Like, yeah, I'll be your net man. What's up, Patricia Leanne Shaw? Keep on going down. Now somebody, who was it? I saw. Oh, Kyle Brown just figured out the brush pile bite on Allatoona. Yeah, I mean it's there's brush piles everywhere, and you got to figure that out for sure.
Farmer said I can go on his boat again. I guess I didn't do anything too stupid.
I told you, Farmer was fine with it. Farmer's he's an easy date, man. He's laid back. Tim Hancock said 1979.
Hey, let's do a redo. I'll take Purrs, and then Farmer takes you, and we'll do our own little Allatoona tournament.
All right.
On Allatoona?
Yeah.
Well, then I need to get into this one.
Yeah,
I'll find somebody to fish with. But 1979, he's kept that log since 1979. And I told him I wanted it. And he won't give it to me. I would have joined earlier, but I'm still recovering from the surgery. Still can't drive. Tim, what surgery did you have, buddy? Let us know. And also, too, while we're talking about that, for you guys that know LJ, actually, they sent me a picture of him. He went through triple bypass surgery yesterday. Wow. Triple bypass surgery. And that is, man, that is tough. I tell you what. But good spirits, and hopefully everything's going to be fine, and he can get to being a big pain in the ass that he's always been. So, yeah, that's good. But we want to, if they do watch tonight, we want to remember that. Do what now? Oh, knee replacement. That's right. I remember him saying something about that. Let's see. Captain Jay, to Tim, he said, that's awesome. And to add to the photo info, with AI in the phone Photos app, you can search keywords now. You can search your entire library by searching fish. I do that occasionally. Yeah. That'd be just one more thing for me to mess up. But several of you guys out there are offering me to fish when we do this, and we will absolutely do that. And
we should do a fun little Sunday tournament or something.
We can do that. Tiny Towns Production. Shout out my channel, Tiny Towns Production. So he likes coming on there. We're going to shout him out. You guys go follow him there. Tony.
Yes, sir.
What is the one thing that you are terrible at that you really need to seriously, you're not versatile at it at all, that you would like to in 2026, you'd like to be a whole lot better at?
For me, it's still the forward facing sonar, tracking down the fish and using the minnow baits. That I started it last year, got a little comfortable with it, but I ended up falling back in the same way I was doing it, like with the jig and spin. I throw it out there and just let it hit bottom and bounce it back because that's what I'm fighting. But to go out there and chase, I remember asking Robert G when he was on the show, how did he keep up with the fish? He was, you got to get a fast trolling motor. Well, I have a Lowrance Ghost. I mean, I'm not going to get much faster, but I finally got to where I'm turning it up on max speed the whole time I'm on the lake. Just trying to get to where I'm chasing those singular fish around and trying to figure out making that one fish bite. Because, I mean, you get your teeth kicked in by, a couple of guys on a boat. They go out there and that's what they're doing there. And you see them, they're out there in the abyss and they're bringing 23, 24 pounds in. And you're going, and like I said, I started breaking that down a little more last year. That's the one thing I want to focus on, like finding those singular fish. Number one, finding those singular fish. And then number two, figuring out that bite a little better. Yeah. Sure.
I would say one thing that John mentioned to me, and it's something that I learned the hard way, fishing with Ryan, and then I have fished with Farmer. Coming from the electric only world and the kayak world and all that, well, a lot of electric only guys do it, but we have to fish a spot. You like running and gunning and stuff like that, but also the speed of a trolling motor going down the bank. And that was something that was a little different. I don't
even have a trolling motor on my kayak. Mine's pedal driven.
Right.
And it took me,
you adapted, but it took a second.
Pretty quickly.
You get halfway through your cast and your bait's back here. You're like, dang.
Yeah, and especially the trick shad, I work real fast. This guy, I'm imitating a bluegill, so I'm kind of just darting it under the docks. And I found out real fast that we didn't have time for that crap. So
I get beat up all the time.
So yeah, but once I switched over to a trick shad that I work a lot faster, I was more comfortable with it. But yeah, that first 3 or 4 docks we hit, my bait was out of sight on the wrong side of the dock.
You got to throw a weightless wacky rig on the back of one of them things.
You got to be skiing behind.
Oh, listen, if they don't bite it in the first foot of the water column, you ain't getting bit on that. You got to reel it up.
I mean, I get critiqued all the time that I fish, even when I bank fish, that I fish super fast. Like I'm moving. Like to me, I power fish a shaky head. I don't throw. I have my spinning reel setups, obviously, but I get, my wife's like, I don't know how you have fun doing this because you fish so fast. But in my head, I know the fish are either going to bite or not going to bite, and I'm going to even if I'm shallow, I fish really, really quick. So
Yeah.
I mean, that part for me is not the hard part. Sometimes I find myself going, dude, you'd probably catch more if you'd slow down just a touch more. You know?
Well, see, that would say, if I would say something that I'm uncomfortable with, like if I'm the kind of guy that will get to a dock, I'll pick that dock apart.
Yeah.
Take my time. I mean, I'll make all these different casts. I would say that I'm not comfortable, even though I'm used to it, I'm still not comfortable going down and making one cast on one side of the dock, one cast on another. You know, I like to try to pick those things apart a little bit. And some of the guys you fish with, like, boom, boom, going to the next one. Boom, boom, going to the next. Almost like you brush pile.
I'm the same way. I'll pick apart every single dock that I fish.
Yeah, because you said you like to drag slow with your jigs and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I definitely like the soaking method when it comes to that. And then, Tony, well, you're talking about like catching them on forward facing with a minnow and stuff. Another big thing when we're talking about being more versatile and fishing outside of your comfort zone, time of year is huge.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I have really put a lot of time into learning the minnow game, right? Forward facing sonar kid, flat bill, whatever. You can call me whatever you want. Wearing a Garmin shirt for 2D, obviously.
You and your cheater box.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, I've thrown a minnow a lot this summer, and I have not gotten bit. Like last summer, I caught a lot on a minnow. This summer, I have not. So,
Is
like,
it because everybody's throwing one now?
I think it's a matter of pressure, and then also like it's a lot better in the wintertime, man. Like throwing it. Like I've been able to like target more of those single fish and stuff offshore, but like they are getting more pressured to it. But also, like, if you're gonna fish a glide, yes, you can fish a glide all year round. But like if you want to learn a glide, April and May, you're gonna have a blast and at least see a lot of fish to start making those right things to make those fish commit. Same thing with a minnow. Between November and February, it's the best time to pick up a minnow and start to learn, because like a lot of times that's the only bait I'm throwing in the wintertime when you get confidence in it. It's just like a lot of different things. So like try to pinpoint those certain techniques around that. Like I'm not going to start learning how to throw a big worm at the end of November. I'm going to start in June when they first start to get on that stuff. And then, or your deep crankbait or something like that, your summertime patterns, like those standard staples for that season. Like you think summertime, you're thinking brush piles with a fluke, you're thinking some topwater stuff, you're thinking big worm, you're thinking deep crankbait. Learn those techniques. If that's something that you're not confident in, learn them between that season. So that June to September, that's the time to pick up those summertime baits and really learn. Same thing with a minnow. If you want to learn that, October to February, you're going to be in a better scenario. Give yourself better odds to really learn that technique and learn what gets bit, what doesn't, what cadence do I need to do? Because like if you start learning a minnow at the end of October and you're shaking, and then catching them, and then all of a sudden December comes around and you're shaking, you're not, you're like, okay, maybe I should start slow jerking it a little bit more and shaking it a little bit slower. And then all of a sudden you start to adapt and learn as that water temp gets colder, your baits start behaving differently, the fish start acting differently. And that's when you can really figure out a certain technique.
Yeah. Go up a couple to put that one, not Cody, going up to Steve Billington. In 2026, I want to be a whole lot better at fishing brush piles in more than 15 foot of water. I struggle to get on them. I grew up fishing all the ocean, and how I failed to hit targets now is sad. That is another thing, though, with forward facing sonar, that if you actually pay attention to it, you can tell like how far you have missed.
Yeah.
You know, your accuracy in casting. A lot of people don't realize it. They'd say, okay, the fish are out there, and they just throw it out that way. Not with these pressured fish now. You got to basically put it in that spot to even get them to react.
Or you have to put it far enough away from them to where they don't react. Like that's been one thing lately is like you can get way too close to a fish, especially these pressured clear water fish. You can put a minnow on their head all summer long and they're not going to eat it. But if you put it 40 foot above their head, and as soon as you see that glow ball start glowing, that's when you need to start working it away, because they're already fired up and moving.
Yeah,
it.
For sure. I agree. Tim Hancock says everybody should keep records. They're invaluable. You guys answered Cody. Thank you, Steve Billington, for answering Cody Jones' question right there. Kyle Brown says his goal for 26 is to fish faster and more efficient. That's a thing. But I guess I'm just stuck in the electric only world where I don't have the fastest boat, and fast in our world is 10 miles per hour unless you're Kerry Bell, which he can fly in his. But for sure, I always will go to a spot and just pick it, work it like crazy. And sometimes I catch myself trying to convince myself there's fish there. I know they're there, almost like force feeding them without the electronics telling me like that for sure. Let's see. Tyler Ward says minnow bite has gotten a lot tougher to get the fish to commit for sure. And that's not, I've heard that from a lot of guys this year.
It's been tough.
I like what Hancock says. I'm not big on fishing by the calendar. I fish by the water temps
for sure.
And that is a big thing. Where are we at? Craftmaster. Minnowing is super tough currently and has been all summer.
It has.
It is a pressure thing, I think.
I think I've caught 5 fish on a minnow all summer.
Really?
To where it used to be like 5 fish a trip. Like last summer, it was 5 fish a trip I would catch on a minnow, to where it's now barely 1.
I got you. Jeremy Conkrod, our buddy in Kentucky, says crappie fishing helped me learn forward-facing sonar. And again, that's where it originated. Yep. Or not originated, but that's where we first started hearing about it gaining prominence. Forward-facing sonar would help a ton with getting on target. That's one thing Kevin Underwood, when I fished with him, and he was kind of explaining that, just because your trolling motor is pointing out that way, sometimes there is a 2 to 3 foot wide window that you need to hit in there. And if it's off a foot and a half this way, that's the difference in a bite.
Back to the density of the dot conversation. But
yeah,
I mean, at 100 foot, you have 15 to 20 foot wide of a cone out there. And if you miss, you can miss by a long shot.
I got you. Jeremiah joined the chat, and he said glide baits are best pre-spawn through July. And then again, from the turnover to early November, when it gets cold, they normally don't do as well because the fish aren't willing to move as far or fast to get them. I think too, that's kind of where you fish. Is dependent, because like you throw them year round.
I throw them year round. Now, if it's uncomfortably cold, like
sure,
we had to bust some ice on Ackworth earlier this year.
Then maybe you're not.
But that's
bait on ice.
No, that's when I went to the
soft baits,
soft swim baits, and just slow rolling like a Huddleston.
Yeah,
slow on the bottom. But if the water ain't frozen, I'm throwing either a glide or a multi-joint.
And you do very well with it. Tyler Shelnut says my goal for 26 is to break 20 on Lanier. Very, very doable. Very doable. Tyler Ward fishing. Accuracy of a cast has gotten even more critical for topwater subsurface herring fish than ever with forward-facing sonar. And again, that goes back to it. And, it could be a pressure thing.
Yep.
It could be all kinds of different, reasons. But that's I take a lot every time I go fishing with somebody, and I try to sponge it all up. That's one of the things that Kevin talks about all the time. And I guess even if you're fishing shallow, accuracy of a cast is the difference between a bite and not a bite. But to me, it seems like it's more, I think shallow, you can get away with a bad cast more so than you can deep nowadays.
Yep. And you have to think of how much water does that fish have around it. So how much water does it have to feel? You put somebody in a box, they're going to feel a lot more of the disturbance and the force when you're sitting in a box versus sitting in a giant room. Right.
Right. Pull up Jeremiah's. Let's see. He's uncomfortable. Minnow fishing has been difficult for me, trying to find the best bait head combos that have the best rolling action. I just hate jiggling a dead looking bait in the water. So, I mean, it is, and I think sometimes those guys are like really OCD with some of that stuff too, and can overthink it. I'm not saying Jeremiah's doing it. I'm just saying some guys will be like,
and you get on this craze. It's like everybody's shaking a minnow. Well, a lot of my minnow fish I've caught just reeling it too. So like you have to be able to figure out, am I shaking it? How hard am I shaking it? How hard is my rod actually moving the bait? What's the thickness of my line diameter, things like that. Like there's a lot of factors that go into minnow shaking other than just tying it onto 10 pound and shaking it.
Yeah.
No joke. I literally bought the Z-Man graph shad and was fishing it like a jig. And that's how I got more confidence in it, and then started casting to specific fish and trying to see what they did. I mean, I just treated it like another lure, like another jig. And that's how I got my confidence to start using it a little more and more last year. And like Clint said, fall and winter were when I was really, learning it the best. So.
Oh, for sure. I got that. So Aaron Young, dude, I am tying. I painted like a ton of ditch diggers already. Got a lot of orders come in, but yes, I am trying to catch up, dude. It is almost that time of year. We'll have a jig show coming up very soon. Guy B. I've heard this from a lot of people, especially this year. Heard it some last year. But I've heard it big time this year. This has been my least productive topwater bite I've had in years.
Yeah, it's been bad everywhere, I think.
Yep.
Okay. Let's just kind of break that down. Tony, I'm going to start with you. We'll work this way. Why do you think the topwater bite's been bad this year?
I don't have a clue is the problem, because there's a window on one of the lakes I fish that bluegill spawn. I'm throwing that boat. You know, the other day I told you to get the Fast Eddie bluegill bait, and it gets hammered. And they didn't touch it. They didn't. I was a walking topwater for a minute, right there at the early spring, early mid spring, and it died completely. I don't know what happened, what changed this year, but it's been very noticeable, like to the point where I always pull the buzzbait rod out in the morning. Didn't even pull it out. So.
All right. And for you answer that, John, Parker says on TikTok, how's the bite on Lanier? What they biting? Well,
Tiny bait.
Tiny. Go tiny if you're going offshore for sure. And shallow is good till the sun gets up.
There you go.
All right. So what about you, John? Like topwater. And here's one thing though, I'm a little bit different. Is like I consider anything, I know I shouldn't, but like a foot to the top. I actually just consider like a fluke to me as a topwater bait.
Yeah.
Almost the magic swimmers and the sashimis, like if you're burning right there, I know technically it's not topwater, but I consider all that because I've even heard that bite's not as good as well. But what about you?
The fast moving topwater bite didn't do as good this year. Buzzbait, I caught some fish, but not nearly as many are the good size. The crawler, Spro crawler, I've caught a bunch of fish. And it's still making a lot of noise, splashing a lot of water, but it's slower than the buzzbait. I caught a lot of fish on that. And then, of course, a wake bait. I'm going to catch fish on a wake bait anyway, just because I throw one so much.
Yeah.
But the buzzbait bite was way off for me this year. And I think I only caught like 2 on a frog.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the crawler and the wake bait's still working.
Okay.
Yeah, the walking topwater was where it was the only thing I could get bit on if it was topwater, walking topwater, and then we threw a frog a couple of weeks ago, got bit pretty good.
Okay, what about you, Clint? Because especially a lot of people love that offshore topwater bite.
I think the fish are setting up a little bit lower in brush piles too. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but like a lot of times you'll see them within the top 5 foot of the column. And lately, a lot of the brush piles I've been fishing, they've been in like more of a 10-foot range. So I think them being set up a little deeper. Now, also, I've seen fish shoot out of 40 foot of water to come look at something and hit the brake. So it's like, it's not that they can't see it up there, but I think it's just the way that they're set up is changing the way they're willing to attack bait. So maybe it's a matter of those deeper piles they want to come up to the top and not so much on your standard 15 to 25 foot brush piles. But it has been tough. Like I had them dancing all over an OG on Saturday, and it's like they would come up and they'd bum rush it and not get it. I was throwing super finesse little tiny Japanese baits, and they would come up crazy after it, but they wouldn't commit to it. So it's a matter of like a lot of these fish, especially Lanier, you end up running out of room. So you'll hit those fish at 80 foot, and then by the time they're all tackling over it, it's 40 foot away from the boat, and you're already running out of the space from that boat pressure. So you think as much as these fish get pulled up out of a pile or out of bait fish and they start chasing, more and more of them are getting closer and closer to boats, and people are getting more efficient at targeting those fish. So like the more they get pulled to these boats, the farther away you have to start setting up on them to really give yourself that time for those fish to commit. Because I feel like if I had 10 more feet on a lot of those topwater casts this year, if I had 10 more feet away from the boat, or could have been backing up, whether using those crappie brakes or the reverse function on the new Garmin trolling motor or something like that, I feel like I could have made a few more fish commit. I think it's just a matter of pressure. I mean, these fish are seeing baits and getting pulled. These schools are getting pulled more now than ever. And I think that's what's kind of making this topwater bite a little tougher is we're running out of room. And so like, if you're not making the farthest cast using cast braid and getting it out there, it makes it a lot harder to get them keep that bait in the strike zone where they're far enough away from the boat to where they're still willing to bite.
Yeah. NB Hensley, believe it could be from the alewives. I don't know if Lanier's got alewives. I know Carter's does, and they stay deep. So that could have something to do with it. Steve Billington says, speaking of bait action, the tank podcast a few weeks ago was epic. Need more of that. Yes, and I figured out how to clean the tank. We're gonna come back with that. Again, I'm trying to get this thing to put some current in it so that we can put like your underspins, your chatterbaits and all that and actually see how they react. We're trying to figure all that out, but it is coming back. Tim Hancock says, for me, 48 degrees. 48 degrees. You guys write that down. It's when things begin to happen with swims and glides. My best day ever came in 50-degree water. It was epic. And I saw that video
100%.
of you the other day throwing that almost like a donkey rig kind of with whopper ploppers or something. He had like a double whopper plopper tied on. I was like, I watched that. I just saw it. I was like, I can't believe you're even throwing that thing. But, you can make it work. Let's see. Andrew Blair makes topwater bites look easy. I think a lot of that's where you're fishing. Get some. You said 3 top all year. Are you saying you only got 3 topwater bites all year? And is that out in California? Because I remember you always say something about California when you get on. I want to make sure I got that right. Colton Posey, what's up, buddy? Good evening, everybody. I've been smoking bass on topwater with the Weed Whacker buzz bait, with a Mooch Minnow trailer, and the Papa Waka by Thunderhawk Lures. Maybe in Alabama it's good. Maybe in Alabama it's good. I know on our lakes it's everybody. It's been kind of the talk. Everybody is like the topwater bite, the way we normally experience it. And I mean, even back when Ryan was working here, people were starting to complain that it's not been the same. Craftmaster, topwater fish are it's been a long day. Topwater fish are offshore fish and have been getting hammered year round for the last 5 years. They are more pressured every year. Now, I mean, that goes 100%. To what you're saying. I can believe that 100%. Buzzbait working for me this year, the best when it's just under the water between 0 and 6 inches deep. What's up, Bohica Baits? How you doing, buddy, over there on TikTok? Buzzbait has been the most consistent topwater bite for farmer. Craftmaster says, see Japan for the next generation's fishing experience. I've always been told that, even with California, like everything moves from west to east. So we'll see how that works.
One thing on Japan that is absolutely nuts. I watched a Koya Fujita video the other night, and YouTube started doing this AI dubbing to where they'll there will be a guy talking, like an AI voice talking as they're talking in Japanese. So I was watching to try to figure out what's he doing over here in Japan or whatever. And it is hilarious because it's a white guy talking and he's like, oh, he's got the bait. He's got the bait. Oh, set the hook. It's so funny because it's like the AI is translating what he's saying as he's saying it, but it's so broken English that is so funny.
I need to watch that because I would enjoy that. Let's see. Aaron Young right there. I've been burning a 1/8 ounce, 1/8. Good Lord. All of a sudden I can't talk after 9 p.m. tonight. I don't know why that is. I've been burning a 1/8 ounce blade bait in shad. Great small bait for this time of year. And again, we've been talking about that, downsizing the baits. You mentioned that earlier, they were keying
the blade
in.
baits, what I call them.
Yeah, hold that back up to the camera and show everybody. That's what he caught. This is
the Spro carbon blade.
That's what he got his fish on when they wouldn't hit his massive baits. Agree with Craftmaster. 142,644 tournaments every weekend year round. It is a lot of pressure for sure. Absolutely for sure. Definitely not going to fuss about people fishing tournaments, so I don't want no comments like that. But you're right. And you say tournaments, but even your everyday guy, your weekend warrior, he's out there just fun fishing. He's going out there deep with his electronics, trying to do the same thing. That's why I always said that I think it ought to help the shallow bite. As many guys as out there deep takes a little bit of pressure off of these shallow fish.
Throw up Jeremiah's comment there.
Okay, so let's read this. Read that, Clint.
Fishing's getting difficult across the board. Bass bites sucked. Flounder season sucks. Striper weren't running. I'm nervous about redfish. Maybe 2025 is just an off year. One thing too, not to get super flat earther and crazy, but our weather has only gotten more and more extreme the past few years. Look at how many hurricanes, how many big weather systems we've had move through, more rain, extreme hot, extreme cold, all this stuff. Conditions have been getting more and more extreme year over year. So what is that actually doing to our fish? Not only are they getting pressured and moved around and blasted around in live wells up all over the lake, but these fish are changing. These fisheries are changing. There's more wake boats on the water than ever. So the erosion, the bottom content is changing. We have so many of these factors that are changing all the time, and it's only getting more and more exponentially worse ultimately. So like, is it a cycle to where we have lakes go through these 7-year cycles to where all of a sudden like OHIV was great in 2011, 2012, and then it sucked until 2020. Like, but then all of a sudden it popped off and you saw some of the biggest bass ever. Yes, live scope was brought in and that helped target some of these giant fish, but guys were fishing out there before it and still catching giants. So like, but like, are we in a cycle right now, or is this the end of the road as far as like things are starting to really change and really like get worse? But then you see some lakes like Guntersville popped off really well this year. So like, it's kind of interesting thinking about like with this weather getting more and more extreme, is it really changing things, or like what? There's so many new variables that keep going into these fisheries every single year with tournament pressure, weather, erosion, all of these things. So like, where is this kind of leading us going into 2026? Like, is it getting harder and worse? Are we going to see it be like Japan where it's 2-pound test and you're trying to flip a lot more of the shallow water and things like that because the forward facing sonar has pushed them all around the lake? Like, it's going to be interesting to kind of see like, okay, well, this is changing so much and changing so much. So like, how do we adapt? Because like our access to information is only getting greater. Fishermen are only getting better. Our technology is only getting better. So like, are we going to push it to its breaking point? And we're going to see that 2-pound test, like struggling to get 1 3-pounder, or like, where's it going to be in the next 5 years?
I blame Biden. I'm just kidding. I don't blame
Biden's why they're not biting.
Yeah, no, Biden. Yeah, that's it. But I get what you're saying for sure. That there is a lot. I'm a cycle guy. I'm not necessarily the biggest global warming guy. I do think everything goes through cycles. Lake goes through cycles. I will say this, and I'm bringing in the deer hunting. You know, I can remember, it seemed like 10 years ago when you hunted in October, November, it was cold. Mm-hmm. And now it just seems like over the last 5, 6, 7 years, they're warmer. And actually the colder weather has moved more into later on. I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
They'll be rutting in February.
Who knows?
Years, you know?
Colton Posey says, have you tried a subtle topwater for Lanier like a simple head and torpedo in chrome? I have not, but I know people that have downsized a lot of their topwater baits. I mean, good Lord, their skimmers getting thrown all over the place. What do you think? Just going back on what Clint just said, with you being a shallow water guy, like, are you seeing the cycles, or is it just the deep water guys? That's what I'm curious. Like, over the last 5 years, have you noticed a change, like on Ackworth in the shallow water bite, or has it stayed pretty consistent for you?
It's been pretty consistent. I mean, I haven't really noticed. On that particular lake, I don't think the quality of fish is where it once was. But I don't think that has anything to do with the weather. I think that has to do with poor management.
Okay. All right. Wait, what about that? You didn't throw poor management in there.
I mean,
Georgia is not as good as Texas and Alabama and Tennessee and all that.
So
at least on the surface.
Along with management, though, you have the tournament pressure. So like with these tournaments, these fish are getting hauled all over the lake, and like the tournament mortality, like these fish that are dying off are a bigger quality fish. You look at the weights from 2015 to right now, they are definitely changing, and like the weights are bigger, but like that means that some of these fish that are dying are also bigger. So like, how is that changing some of these fisheries as far as like what age class is in the body of water? Because you see some bodies of water where Guntersville's popping off with giants, but then you see these other places that it seems like the growth is getting stunted and they're not as big.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and the catch and release movement, you think back to the 90s when everything was on a stringer versus now we're putting back a lot of the fish, and a lot of the fish we're culling are those smaller size fish. So the smaller size fish get to live and the big ones get brought back in and have less of a chance of survival. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting, and we'll kind of see where this catch and release movement kind of takes the fish. And it's not just tournament fishing. Like, you got to think of how many fishing licenses are sold and guys that don't even know what a tournament is. I didn't know what a tournament was till I turned 18. Like, so there's still such a big population out there on the lake every day. You pull up at Lanier any given time throughout the week, there's still going to be a bunch of trailers in the parking lot. So,
for sure.
And a lot of those guys are not tournament guys.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but some of those guys are filling a cooler with spotted bass, and some of them are like just going out there catching as many as they can. Like, it definitely changes the fishery just with pressure increasing. But like, it's kind of like what fish are dying and which fish are surviving, and like, how does that affect the fishery, the bait? all those different.
There is a
factors.
boatload of variables.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, what you're saying.
Mhm.
Let's hit Brock Keteman right there, and then just pull it up. But Farmer says I've noticed as far as jig fishing goes, he's getting more bites swimming a jig versus the old dragging one on the bottom. So that's a change that he's noticed. AI coming to P Hub. Billington, what are you doing watching P Hub? Why are you watching that stuff, son? Huh? You don't need to be watching that
That's
stuff.
people-powered hubs.
People powered hub right there. Brock Keteman. The buzz bait and frog bite has been really good on Sandy Cooper the past month or so. The wake bait bite has been the same, I guess, for in the salt for reds too. Have you ever done that? Because I know you love throwing wake baits and stuff.
For reds, no.
You ain't never done that? I bet that would be pretty cool. Tim Hancock, after 20 years of playing with some big swim baits and glides, I think he's got some stuff pretty well dialed in, and I would say that as well. Jeremiah says in the coming years, I think we'll all be throwing a lot of BFS gear, getting more finesse. I'm just ahead of the curve right there, I guess. Guy B, we're just going to start hammering some of these. I have a Rocky Point 50 yards from my dock. Some days I see 50 to 60 boats working that point. So definitely pressure. I mean, pressure is there. We know that. I mean, you named off a ton of variables, but one thing that is consistent, it is pressure. More people are fishing now than ever before. Steve Billington, the deities cycle nature constantly. They will provide as we are deemed worthy. The rest is all pissing in the wind. Billington, listen, hey, I can't, disagree with you on that at all. Bottom line outdoors. Horny toad or buzzbait. Some lakes are in a cycle and some lakes were very low. Now they have water and they have the new lake effect too. True. I fished both of them. I caught more fish on the, and when you say a horny toad, are you talking about on like a buzzbait with the frog on it, or are you talking about just throwing a horny toad by itself? I've actually caught more buzzbait fish with the frog on it than I have regular ones this year. What about you, Tony?
Oh, I always throw it with a buzzbait, so I'm not. I think he's talking
You're
about
a skirt guy?
Oh yeah.
You think he's talking about just a regular
I think
horny
he's talking about just
toad?
a regular horny toad thrown out there, reeling it back versus on a buzzbait.
I haven't thrown that as much this year as I have in the past. You ever mess with that?
Not this year.
Not
I have
this
in the
year.
past, but now I'm just changing which buzz bait I'm using.
I got you right there. War Eagle the best. How you doing, buddy? Found 2 5XDs walking along the shore of Lanier 2 days ago. Surprised somebody still used that crankbait trying to catch spots. A lot of people still throw the XDs.
Yep.
But a 5XD, yeah, for sure. That is interesting. Andy Miller. Speaking of the lake cycling and OH Ivy, how was Lanier prior to the mid-2000s drought? Were the spots as big back then? I don't, just trying to base it on what people have told me, I don't think so. I think the heyday for the spots getting really big has been in the last 10 years, 10, 15 years. So maybe right about that time afterwards.
But we don't know. Like, I think the people to talk to would be the striper guides, honestly. The guys that have been out there forever and running across these offshore fish before us bass fishermen were even targeting those offshore fish, those pelagic spots that got big over the timber. We weren't even fishing for those 10 years ago.
That's true.
So I feel like that would be your best source of information, is seeing it. Like, were those striper guides catching 5 and 6 pound spots back then, or no?
I don't know, but I know the stripers used to be a lot bigger back in the day. Aaron Young, people got to get creative with bait selection. I've not had an issue catching fish, but a few times this year, everybody is doing the same stuff. So changing it up, kind of like what, this whole episode was supposed to be about being versatile. And you know how we kind of get off on our tangents and all that. But yeah, you got to be, for sure. The quality of the fish in Lake Ackworth went downhill at warp speed when GON did an article on it. I watched it happen in real time.
Man, one of my buddies did that article. One of my buddies he was actually a guy that did that article and fished with him, and he said, yeah, he caught a lot of flack for that.
You will catch off fight. That's one thing about smaller electric only lakes that I don't give spots and stuff like that. I'll kind of tell people what the bait are, what the fish are hitting, what everybody's telling me, but like I won't say go to this point.
Yeah.
And do that, because you will absolutely burn up 1,000 acre lake, 1,000 acre or less reservoir in a heartbeat, because he's actually, when he said 50 to 60 boats on a point,
Yeah.
I mean, that happens in electric only reservoirs too, like quick, and there's not enough room for those fish to scatter.
Right. And
So-
I've seen it, I've seen it happen doing social media. I've seen it happen on lakes that I fish. And you'll go out there and you'll get a report back from somebody and go, yep, that guy's back on that same spot day after day after day after day. So, I mean, we talk about blurring background, stuff like that. I mean, you have to get creative with times that you post videos. If you catch them today, maybe not posting it for a month or so, because guys will go out there and sit on those spots and burn them down. And Farmer's got a comment down here talking about with what Clint touched on with the shallow water fish not grouping up as much. I'm seeing almost the opposite on some lakes where in the shallow bite, I'm finding them grouped up in big, large groups of fish on shallow bodies of water because of the pressure.
Right.
They're finding certain little things and they're not sitting on the normal spots. They're sitting on these weird little things and they're grouping up in larger groups, at least what I'm seeing.
What about you? Because you fish shallow. Are you finding the same thing he's seeing? Like when you fish like Ackworth, do you find like fish congregated in a particular spot? Like when you get a spot, you're like busting a bunch of them, and then you go to the next spot, nothing. But you go to the third spot, and they're congregated there real heavy. Or you find them still spread out where you fish?
They're still spread out.
They're spread out where you fish.
Individual. I mean, you can go up what I kind of the nursery, and you can smack a bunch of 12 and 14s, but inch fish.
Yeah.
I know I kayaked on you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, don't throw that link stuff
Yeah,
at
but
me
as
now.
far as the quality fish, they're spaced out.
They're spaced out. Herschel, I had my best topwater bite this past Sunday in Lanier. He switched from a Spro E-Pop to a head and spook. And it could be as simple as that because that
It's
E-Pop's
all
my
the fish were
favorite.
hungry because they wouldn't bite on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Things were weird this year compared to just last year. Didn't even really start getting consistent warm days until halfway through May. We're getting an early turnover, and we had rain almost every week. It has rained
I'd
a
love
lot.
to see a podcast from this time last year and see. 'Cause I feel like we say that every year. It's like, oh, the fish were weird this year, but last year was so good.
Well,
feel
I
like
bet
say
you we
that.
did.
I bet you we've said
Well,
that.
last year, I maybe coming into this year, we talked about it being the crankbait bite was bad. We've had the different phases for sure.
Yeah. And I will say this, like I noticed, and I've said this before, that for the past 2 years, I've seen a lot, at least on the electric only side, a lot of tournaments were won shallow. Like, I mean, a foot to 10 foot, like in January and all that.
Right.
Whereas, normally you'd think ditch bite on Lanier or Allatoona, you think those deep ones. So that was kind of weird. Now, we talked about that. Craftmaster, lakes change. I've been on Lanier since the early 80s. I've seen a lot of bites come and go over the decades, and I bet you have. I bet you have. But Craftmaster, answer me this one question since it was asked. The drought, 2010, 11, wherever that was. How was the spotted bass fishing before that compared to after? Since you've been on the lake and you would know, kind of give us a little feedback on that. Now, Farmer says as far as weather goes, I think weather affects shallow fish a lot quicker than it affects offshore fish. I feel like that showed this last weekend. That lightning storm killed the shallow bite. And we've talked about that on the show. You get a big thunderstorm, a lot of lightning and all that, it will shut that shallow bite off. Clint, in your experience, so maybe not this past weekend, let's just take that and let that be your mulligan and throw it out.
I hope so.
Yeah, well, okay. But how have you seen, like, when you get big in the past, when you get big thunderstorms and stuff like that, does it affect it as much
Normally
as a shallow
it fires
bite?
up the offshore fish typically.
Yeah.
even shallow it does too, but I think it happened before we hit the water.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of weirded everything out. I think if that thunder had rolled through when we were up shallow, it would have been a different game.
You think so?
Yeah, I normally do really well when it's light and then terrifying when you're out on the water.
Yeah, no, actually, the best I ever had, like just on Yahula on electric only reservoir, me and Josh were fishing. Everybody was under the bridge, or they parked it because it was lightning so bad, and we had a afternoon tournament up there. We stayed out there like fools.
Yeah, catch
Boom,
fish.
boom, boom, boom. But the second that storm passed, that bite we had right there died.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think
it
while
did.
we were all standing around waiting on blast off and saw all the lightning, and then once we got on the water, it had stopped. I think
Yeah.
it was done.
Yeah. Pull up Colton Posey's comment right there, but I'm going to read a little bit from Cody Jones. He goes, I came from Ohio where fishing isn't good for the most part. Not saying you can't catch good bass in Ohio, but there's not many good lakes. A bad day down here would be a good day in Ohio. Yeah, but
Perspective.
we might have better bass fishing, but they got bigger deer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all plays itself out right there. How's your target practice coming? You doing good?
I stretched her out to 40 yards, started drilling it, and
Yeah.
40 yards. It's going good.
I got to pick mine up. I really do, because that place I get to fish is going to be amazing. A lot of my chatterbait bites have come from a straight retrieve instead of mixing it up. I believe fish get accustomed to presentations over just the bait itself. I can believe that 100%. 100%.
Just like shaking a minnow, everybody thinks you got to shake the crap out of it. Sometimes you don't.
All right, Aaron Young. This is a question for you guys. What test line are folks using on glide baits? I keep breaking off at the knot.
20 plus for sure.
What do you use, John?
20 pound up to 2 ounces, anything over that 25 pound.
Okay.
And
Tony?
I'm just throwing the old improved clinch knot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think it's the knot. I think that's definitely the line on that.
I like a Palomar San Diego Jam on my
Of course you do. San Diego Jam.
Yeah.
I just love how people name knots and stuff. What about you, Tony?
I'm using 20-pound fluoro, and I'm using what Bass Fishing HQ calls a double pits and knot, and I use it on everything I tie on, so it works great for me.
Yeah. You know what? All these fancy knots, I'm like John. I've never really had an improved clinch knot really ever fail on me.
Yeah.
Any style of clinch knot is going to be a good, to me, superior knot.
For sure.
Clinching style.
And
knot.
I've tied it so much, I don't have to think about it. I know I tied it right.
That's confidence in that. Brian Farrell, I fish all smaller city lakes in California. The people taking all the bluegill has hurt our bass numbers. And that's one thing out here we've talked about a lot. The bluegill beds this year, the bluegills, they were deeper for the most part bedding this year. You didn't see as many 1 to 2 foot tires
a lot
of
of
beds.
my go-to spots were just
that didn't happen this year. Yeah. So even the bluegill are being affected. And I don't know if that is pressure or whatever, but even on Latham, like you couldn't see it. Like on the 360, I was seeing bluegill beds in 15, 18 feet of water. Like that shouldn't be there.
Right.
It was weird. I heard this farmer, I heard the spotted bass boom as far as size goes. Wasn't until they had that big kill off of striper from the gill maggots and their, those gill lice. That can be it. Let's see. Cranking and yanking has made an appearance.
Hey.
So just for everybody, let me go ahead and help you out right there. They're biting the crankbait.
They are biting.
They're biting the crankbait right there for sure. Now,
I got something for him.
Go ahead.
All me and Alex could talk about is I was catching them on a crankbait. Okay.
Yeah.
What bait was that?
I was catching them on a crankbait.
You still have that bait?
No, I broke it off in a brush pile. And
but you were catching fish on crankbait.
Oh yeah. And all I could tell Alex was I can't wait to catch 20 plus on a crankbait just for cranking and yanking to be like I scoped every dang one of them.
It didn't work.
But luckily for you, cranking and yanking, I did not crank and yank them on the scope. So
but we appreciate you doing this. Now, War Eagle, the best right there. Pull this up. I hope our fishing will never be like in Japan. Catching one bass in a week is definitely not for me. In this situation, I will just quit fishing.
So I talked to Taku. I talked to Taku last year, and he was in Japan for a couple months in the off season. And I was like, hey man, like how is Japan? He's like, it's okay. And I was like, okay, like did you catch some big fish or anything? And he said, no, 3-pounder was the biggest one I caught. And so in literally 3 months.
Wait a second. When did he become Spanish?
I don't know. I did go a little.
Did you notice that? Like all of a sudden, he just talking like Gonzalez over here. I'm like, all right.
Maybe it's that AI.
It's that AI.
It's the AI. Sure. The AI is throwing me off, my friend. But I went from Taku to Takis.
Taco.
Yeah. Jason Benton, we've been kind of talking about this. When did the spotted bass fishery take off on Lanier? By that, I mean 20-pound bags being caught. And Farmer made a good point. There was a die-off a lot of the striper, too. And I guess that would help because then again, there's more opportunity for the spotted bass. And then it was mentioned the drought.
The herring been in there?
Oh, good Lord. I don't know. I will say this, like Lanier was a largemouth fishery for the longest time. I would say even in the 80s. Well, yeah, it was like 4 decades ago. Yeah. So yeah, Ohio does have very, very much bigger deer for sure. Let's see. Trying to catch up. Now, Tim Hancock says he uses 65-pound braid on swims and glides, improved clinch knot. I've seen you set the hook, so I understand why. Andrew, hello from West Virginia. Love the show. Well, we love you too, dude. Appreciate you stopping by. Absolutely. Again, like if you follow us on YouTube at FNGO, you get a better experience and you'd like it even better. Let's see. Okay. Oh, okay.
Herring were introduced in the 90s, early 2000s.
Okay. All right.
To the Jeep.
Stop for a second, because one of the things about this show is no matter where you're from, whatever, we're family.
Yep.
We're family, and absolutely that. So pull up Cranking and Yanking. On a very sad note, I lost my father on Friday. It's been a rough week for my family. Cranking and Yanking, that's one club that I wished you weren't a member of. I'm a member of that, and absolutely, our thoughts and prayers and all that are with you. That is a very, very tough time, especially in a man's life.
Yeah,
for sure.
Especially in a man's life. We love our mamas and all that. And I love my mama like crazy, but when you lose your father, it's a different thing. So, dude, from Fish, North Georgia, and all of us here, we love you being on the show, and just want you to understand that, hey, we will be thinking about you.
We're here for you, man.
Absolutely.
And I know we bust each other's balls and stuff, but I lost my dad when I was 10 years old, and that was definitely a very tough experience on me. And it doesn't matter if you're 10 years old or you're 60 years old losing your dad. It doesn't matter how much time you get with that. It's a part of your life that you lose. And the biggest advice I have is no matter how much time you had with them, remember those good times. And like, that's the best thing you can live on is those good memories, because those good memories are what translate and stick in your life. That's what you take to the grave, is those good memories.
For sure.
Don't ever forget the good times and let those fuel your fire every time you're out on the water, or whatever you guys used to do together, whatever it is, remember those, appreciate those. Like I always appreciate every sunrise and sunset, because life is very short. And that was something I got to enjoy with my dad on the water, was seeing that sun come up and be like, dang, life is good.
Yeah.
And so like, that's something that still sticks with me to this day, and definitely just embrace those positive times, live life to the fullest. We never know what could happen in life. So definitely we're thinking about you, man. If you ever need anything, reach out.
He said he was 81 and a great man.
That's awesome.
Well, I tell you what, 81 years, that's a good long life. So you were blessed to have him for that long, for sure. So hope everything gets better with your family. And like, seriously, dude, like if you need anything from us, I know we're a few states away, but we will do whatever is necessary and needed for you and yours like that. So hate to hear that news, but that is one thing I'm a member of that club. Clint's a member of that club. That's a different one for guys, for sure. Colton Posey. Since you guys are talking about versatility, I've noticed specifically this year how often the bite changes throughout the day sometimes. 4 in an 8-hour day, changes 4 times in an 8-hour day. And also, Tony, thank you for the follow over there like that.
Absolutely.
That is something that we definitely do notice, and you have to be able to switch. Now, I don't know, do you see that deep compared? I want to get the differences in that with you being shallow, you being deep. Do you notice the bite, how often it kind of changes through the day? Because you'd like to be very consistent. And Tony, you can jump in on that too, man.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Do you see that difference in changes?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if there's cloud cover and then it blows away and there's sun.
Yeah.
Suddenly go from shallow grass to all of a sudden they're on rock, 15 feet deeper. So yeah, it changes all day long.
Well, how do you stay versatile with that? Like, how long do you stick with a pattern that's not working or something like that? Or like, let's just say this. Let me throw it this way. If you're throwing a certain bait and you're crushing it and it's cloudy and all of a sudden the sun pops out, how long do you continue with that bait before you figure, okay, they're changing patterns?
Normally pretty quickly, but my transition on most of the lakes I fish is going from 0 and 1 foot to 10 foot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going from the back of a cove fishing docks to suddenly we're in 100 foot of water chasing bait around. So that's the transition I was not comfortable with and that I'm not versatile on. But as far as just moving from, they're on grass in the shade and all of a sudden they're on rock in the sun, that's easy. If I'm not getting a bite in a couple, 30 minutes, I'm gone.
Yeah. What about you, Tony? You noticing that?
I had the pleasure of having something happen that not doesn't normally happen all the time. I watched the bite change in one spot from different style baits. In fact, at one point over the weekend, I said, I'm just going to try this bait because they were biting something and it stopped completely, threw something different. They bit. And I finally said, I'm going to throw the glide, and caught the biggest fish on the glide. in the exact same spot. It went from finesse to glide bait all in a matter of an hour in one spot.
In a matter of an hour?
In the matter of an hour in one spot.
Okay.
Now, as soon as I caught that one big fish on the glide, that bite completely stopped, and it went back to finesse. It was weird. It was just the fish just kept changing what they were biting, and the quality changed with it as well.
I got you. What about you, Clint, being the deep water guy? Do you see it?
I always
change?
have so many rods on the deck, man, because it does change so much throughout the day. And being able to present those multiple presentations to different groups of fish, like each fish is going to behave a little bit differently. So you could go from catching them, like wintertime is a great example. You have that first hour where we get on that cool, unique to linear like crankbait by early in the morning, and then all of a sudden it's dead as soon as that sun gets up. Yeah. And then you have to be a little bit more versatile. So I definitely think like being able to switch from a shaky head or something like that right after that a certain bite dies, or being able to rotate through multiple presentations is very important. And also like having sometimes you get on a bite where they're eating like, let's say a jerkbait real good or something, right? Like they're eating a Megabass +2 and it's November. Well, it's important to sometimes have a +1 and a standard Vision 110 tied on as well, because sometimes you can have those fish different in the water column, or they'll slowly start moving up in the water column or slowly moving a little bit deeper. So being able to have that versatile range, they could still be on the same presentation, but you might need to present it in a different part of the water column as well.
Okay, that's good. Go ahead and scroll all the way down, because we're an hour 55 in. I want to read Cranking and Yankin's thing, and then I'll read Colton's right above that. But he says, thank you for all the thoughts and prayers. It's greatly appreciated. He and Mom would have been married 63 years in October. It will be tough on her. And that's the one we need to remember.
Yep.
Is his mom. That is that's longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, like I've been married 30 years. I love my wife. Trust me, if you made it 63 right there, you guys have figured something out right there. So again, yeah, we'll hey, Cranking and Yanking, your mom, you will, but especially your mom will be in our thoughts tonight. Colton says, I stick with a certain pattern and bait until I'm not productive within a 20 to 30 minute span. Sometimes it's as simple as changing the presentation throughout the day, for sure. And let's pop this one out. These last two. Jeremiah Giles. Something interesting. Apparently some of the Japanese guys throw huge baits because there's so many people using the small ones there. 13-inch worms on a Nico rig and stuff. How well would that work here? John, you're the big bait guy.
Yeah, it'll work.
Look at his shirt. Magnum right there. So that's yeah. A lot of guys.
Speaking of Magnum.
Speaking of Magnum.
They're punch beef. They're 4-inch punch bait just came out like 2 weeks ago. They've already sold out on the green pumpkin, but he made me a run of black with gold flake for dirty shallow water.
Yeah.
So my batch is shipped, but he does have them live on his site now.
Okay, there you go. Aaron Young. Sun pops out. I'm headed for overhanging cover and dirty water. And I can understand that completely. So with that, guys, I tell you what, we're going to call it a night. There was a lot of discussion tonight.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if we stayed on the original topic, but we covered a lot of stuff.
Y'all roasted me for 45 minutes.
Well, you know, it was fun. It was fun, you know, doing that for the. We didn't roast you. I'm in the same boat as you. There are many things that I do that I'm like totally uncomfortable.
No,
with.
I had a good time.
Yeah, no, I know you didn't. You're a good sport like that. So we appreciate you guys, Clint and Tony, for all you know, y'all being here and doing that. Alex is in Disney, and so Tony came up here on his off night and worked the board for us and all that. So we appreciate you doing that.
Yes, sir.
Doc Holliday says, Clint, Alex, Tim, John, Jonathan, Ryan, good to meet all you guys in person Saturday for sure. And I told John that one of the best things about going to an event is people that watch you on your show or know you from your social media is putting a name with this, you know, a face with a name. Yeah. And that's always a pretty cool thing. So we appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Hey, listen, I'll be back tomorrow for the lunch break. You guys join me tomorrow, and we'll talk about some of this stuff tomorrow or whatever the heck crosses my mind. But listen, seriously, guys, because we're family, you guys remember Cranking and Yanking tonight. And go kiss the ones you love. Okay? Right. You never know, just like Clint said. So appreciate all you guys joining us. We will catch you on the next one. You have a great evening.